The beginning of the end for you.
To the sky!
Bestowed upon you the power of the sun.
A mighty sword!
Strike while the iron's hot.
For Camelot! For Avalon!
Let the heavens rain! I am Ragnarok!
It's Saturday, and that means the SPL is back, and what a Saturday of games we've got for you here today. Of course, all of it powered by our friends over at Prime Gaming. Shoutouts to Prime for being with us here in Season 9 of the SMITE Pro League. Make sure you get the most out of your Prime membership. Free in-game content, free games, and so much more. Thanks to Prime Gaming for being with us here in Season 9 of the SMITE Pro League. My name is Dolson. Trelly Relly joins me on the desk to start off the day. Trelly, we've had a up and down weekend for a lot of the teams up to this point so far. Finally get into our triple header days.
Yeah, I mean, this is where the games are starting to get real exciting. They already have been, but you kind of can't look away at this point. They've been real long, real exciting.
That's right.
Standings matter, all that sort of thing. It's just so hype.
Yeah, we've had some really long games, and it all comes down to the wire now, not only in the games themselves, but as far as standings go, and of course the path to Worlds for our 8 SPL teams and SOC teams, SCC teams, things like that. And so the first big Road to Worlds event after Phase 3 is over, next weekend, the last weekend of Phase 3, that'll be late in November for the Phase 3 playoffs. Remember, when we talk about the standings all throughout this week and next weekend, we say top 6 because only the top 6 teams from the SPL after Phase 3 will go to that Phase 3 playoff event, and then only 4 of those 6 will go straight to the Worlds quarterfinals. The 2 teams from Phase 3 playoffs that do not qualify, and the bottom 2 teams after Phase 3, they'll go on to the group stages early in January to face off against some SOC and SCC teams. And so really, Trelly, everything leading into the SWC January 13 through 15, key right now, top 6 for these SPL teams. Right. Anything can happen at Phase 3 playoffs, but top 6 is really what all of these teams are aiming for. And so we've already had a couple doubleheader days. Now we have triple headers, not only today, but tomorrow as well. And these matches heavily impacting where the teams will land. So the Atlantis Leviathans going up against a reeling Solar Scarabs squad. If the Scarabs want a chance to chase down one of those top 6 spots, they've got to string all of these wins together. Unfortunately for them, they've got to run into the white-hot Atlantis Leviathans to start off our day here on Saturday. Can say the same thing about the Valkyries, and they've got an important one. One of the teams that's on the lower end of that top 6 is the Titans. The Valkyries a chance to close that gap if they're able to find a win today. And the matches don't get any less important. At the end of the day, the Oni Warriors and the Jade Dragons battle it out. As of right now, the Oni Warriors 1 win behind the Dragons. And so with a win there, things get really interesting for top 2. And that's just today. Tomorrow we've got a triple header of games, starting with Bolts Leviathans, ending with Dragons and Titans. Now, as we talk through the standings, Trelly, this is where things get interesting. So really that final match of the day is where my eyes go. Oni Warriors at 6-4, Jade Dragons at 7-3. With an Oni Warriors win, now we're getting into tiebreakers, things like that, for that second seed spot. Same with the bottom of the standings here. Valkyries versus Titans. Valks can kind of close that gap with the Titans with only a handful of matches remaining. But really, in my mind, it's the race for the top 2 that's starting to heat up right now.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think we got to sit down with Dardez a bit and talk to them about, the Oni Warriors have been looking good, but are they top 2 good? Do you guys think you have that ability to climb? And Dardes with overwhelming confidence said the only time we lose and the matches that we did lose, we just threw. Like we should have won those. We should have 2-0'd, maybe 2-1, and that just shows a level of confidence that I think they believe they're top 2. Obviously, they believe they're number 1, but they can't get to that point. They have to get to top 2 first. So I imagine that's probably on their minds right now. They want to make that jump and they want to get to that top 2.
Man, and with the Titans win, if the Titans win over the Valkyries, they improve to 6 wins.
Yep.
And we've got 10 matches next weekend, something like that, to run through. I mean, it is going to get really, really closely knit towards the top of the standings. Now, towards the bottom of the standings, teams trying to break out of the bottom 2. The road not easy for the Solar Scarabs or the Valhalla Valkyries. We've talked to some of them individually, and they've mentioned, really at this point it's about building up chemistry, building up consistency. Eyes kind of already on the group stages. Maybe you can go on a run. But for the Solar Scarabs right now, it's about finding an identity, finding a thread that this team can really lean into because, Trelly, for a while, it seemed like they had some of their picks figured out and this team was looking really good. Their early game focus was strong. Maybe fall off mid to later in the game. Goal for the Scarabs now, more practice, more time together. See if you can make a run. And some of that, maybe is leaning on your world's winning jungler, Sanford Soccer.
Yeah, I imagine, practice has got to be the name of the game here, trying to build up that chemistry like we've been talking about. And it just seems like trying to build up that team synergy because the conversation was always, maybe they could break into that out of that top 2 if they were able to string these wins together. It just hasn't been happening. But they have been looking real good at points, and I think that's what they want to focus on, right? They've been able to find these early leads off the back of Sanford Soccer, who I think this is what I was talking about. Forget the meta at this point. Play the gods that that your team can play. They dropped the different style of first picks. They went, hey, let's grab Mercury and Kukulkan, and they look great. Those are the kind of things that I expect from the Solar Scarabs at this point on. Try and take some games off some teams that you think might have a little bit more chemistry than you guys at the moment, and play your own style of Smite. This type of Solar Scarabs that we saw versus the Titans, this is the kind of Scarabs I want to see throughout the rest of the phase.
Right. It was a team that went away from just a straight-up meta tier list for a moment, pick some comfort picks, and at that point, when you're playing your game, it really works out, and it did work out for the Solar Scarabs. So mathematically for them, right now, Scarabs in 8th, Olympus Bolts in 6th with 4 wins, 4 sets remaining for the Solar Scarabs, so you got to string a few of those wins together if you're hoping to jump into the top 6. Mm-hmm. But again, it's a team, I think, that has a clear goal in mind, and they've got their heads on straight. And Sanford Soccer is one of the guys that we've talked to in the past who's really oriented this team around building the chemistry, eyes towards group stages, and start to make some waves maybe a bit later on. Sanford Soccer standing by with Gormizer for the pregame interview.
Yeah, that's right. I've got Sam standing by, and there's a lot to kind of touch on that the desk had talked about there, but I think the first and foremost one is going to be talking about Phase 3, the rest of the season for the Scarabs, things like that. A lot of changes that have happened to the team. Sometimes, well, I don't think any of them have been like completely team-made. They've all happened at you guys. What are you guys looking at for the rest of the phase, rest of the year? Like, are you still targeting playoffs, or are you looking towards Worlds?
I mean, I think like mathematically it's pretty low chances for us to make a playoff, so of course, it makes sense to just focus for Worlds. And yeah, I think we're just kind of taking every set, like step by step, just trying to improve as much as possible, learn from as much as we can possibly from each game too. So yeah, just everything is definitely going towards Worlds.
And, they mentioned it on the desk. We saw it a couple of days ago, but like you guys up against the Titans, unfortunate loss, but it's a 2-1. You look really, really good in one of those games, kind of starting to strike the iron while it's hot. Do you feel like that consistency is going to be kind of cropping up, or do you think that one was, admittedly, was it a lucky win, or do you guys think that you've got it down pat?
I mean, it's hard to say we have down pat, right? I think that's a bit much, but yeah, I definitely think we're on the upward trend. I think we are getting better for sure. So I think that's all that matters. I don't think it was like a one-time thing, but yeah.
Well, today you're going up against like the unfortunate scenario, right? You're going up against the Leviathans. They lost their first set this phase, and then since then have not lost a set. 9-1. What are your thoughts on trying to take them on and what your team's going to be able to accomplish?
I mean, obviously they've looked really good, and they've definitely had some close sets for sure. It's not all like domination, but they've just been winning. There's like close games. They're always in the game. It never seems like they're like out of it in any individual game. So yeah, I mean, it's just going to be a tough matchup, but I think we definitely have the ability to win. We just got to see how it goes.
Well, I'm excited to watch it. I'm sure people at home are excited to watch it. I'm sure you're excited to get into the game and play it. So thanks for your time, man. Good luck in the games. We'll throw it back to the desk to get into this.
That's right, Sanford Soccer, worlds-oriented for the Solar Scarabs team. And he's right. I mean, mathematically, it's they've got to win everything. And
hope for losses for the other
you're
teams.
hoping that the Bolts, and really the Bolts at this point, the Titans have that one extra win, so you're really hoping that the Bolts drop some more of their sets. Could happen, and would be one of the greatest stories in SMITE esports if somehow they're able to turn it around and all that works out. But I think being realistic is a good first step for the Solar Scarabs team. Unfortunately, today they are going up against a team who is on the verge of tying the longest win streak as far as sets go in SPL history, and that's the Atlantis Leviathans. They lost their first set of the phase, and then they've won 9 straight sets. Unless I've been lied to, 10 straight sets is the all-time set streak. Teams have come close to beating it. Teams have come close to breaking it. Leviathans, I think, have a real good shot today, Charlie, with the way that they've been playing at tying that set streak record.
I mean, and that's got to be on their minds because we saw Zapman tweeting about it. This is not something they're unaware of. They know that the win streak is here. So, you know, they definitely want to keep that going as well as just going into Worlds looking red hot. So you got to imagine everyone's got to be playing in tip-top shape trying to go for that win streak.
I said white hot. Red is technically a downgrade from white, right?
Isn't
as far
blue
as
the hottest?
heat goes,
I think
right?
blue is the hottest fire, right?
Yeah, blue's the hottest fire. I don't know how hot white is compared to red. At any rate, Atlantis Leviathans are whatever color of fire is the highest temperature because they are absolutely killing it. And Panatom is as well, Trelly. If you look at the jungler for this Atlantis Leviathans team, especially in the current meta, we've talked about Beads and Aegis and how important those interactions are with one another. Susano has really skyrocketed as far as importance goes. Daji has climbed up the charts a bit as well. Panatom has played both, and Panatom has looked near unstoppable on both. A 7-5 game on Susano, a 5-3 game on Susano. I mean, priority one has got to be limiting what Panatom can do. I'm just not sure teams have figured out how to do that yet.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing. We talk a lot when we reference this Atlantis Leviathan team about, you know, Shinto popping up, stealing farm, going for level 20. But ever since Panatom has been on this hot streak, I've been making jokes on the desk about maybe tell Shinto, give away some of that farm, man. Give it back over to Panatom because he has been absolutely destroying these late game team fights, getting in situations where you think you should never be able to get to the back line. Panatom does it and goes relatively untouched. It's not an easy thing to stop Panatom when he's on point, especially with the gods that are currently in the meta and the ones that he pilots so well. It's just, he's on point, and I think you're right to highlight. That's been an answer yet. Like, there's got to be someone that can shut down Panatom, and the Scarabs are hoping it's Sanford Soccer.
Yeah, remember, it was a very, very close set against the Jade Dragons for the Leviathans, but ultimately in Game 3 simply outclassed that Jade Dragons team. I mean, what more accolades does Zapman need at this point, right? He's already won Worlds 3 times in a row. Now he's on the verge of tying, potentially breaking next time we see this team the all-time set win streak record in the SPL. It all just makes so much sense for Zap, doesn't it? We'll see how picks advance for game number 1 breakdown. Scarabs hoping to end that win streak and maybe start a win streak of their own. It seems like a team that kind of just needs to believe together, the Solar Scarabs, right? I mean, you looked competitive in a set, you didn't get the win. I mean, look at what happened to them. The Valkyries beat the Kings, and suddenly that team just has this resurgence of confidence and belief. Now, behind the scenes, I'm sure they did, but some of the fans behind them as well. Could be a start here for the Solar Scarabs if they're able to remain competitive. So where do the bans end up dropping? Leviathans will take away the Emoja from Hurrywind. Morgan, Daji, probably a worthwhile ban. And I wonder, Trelly, if Susano suddenly rises up the priority chart here in this matchup when you got Sam and Panatom, 2 junglers that we've talked about, both very, very good at that pick.
Yeah, certainly could be an option. I think the burst mages have been higher up on the tier list as of recent just because, you know, how good the Vulcans and the Morgans can be. So it could be something that the Solar Scarabs want to look at or try to draft for themselves. More recently, it seems like Baronic has been leaning more towards the, the Kukulkan, things like that. So let the Vulcan go through, or in this case, ban it away from Shinto, and that's definitely a smart call. He's been looking real solid on that Vulcan pick as well. Now the Leviathans have to decide, what do they want to give up as well as giving to themselves? You mentioned that Susano, I think, could be an option. Hasn't been first ban too much, and surprising because of how much it's dominated the meta. It's actually going to be the Respect ban, Sanford Soccer's Mercury. And that's something that really can be dynamic, and more so, that was probably Zap saying, hey, I've seen him ult from behind Tier 1 tower over duo lane. I don't want to deal with that. Take
I want
it away.
this set win streak,
Yep,
guys. I don't want my
exactly.
lane to get ganked over and over and over again. But, I mean, really, think about how different that Scarabs team looked in the game where Sam got the Mercury. We were wondering if it would work. It sure did. And completely took game 2 over against the Titans when we saw it. Maybe a smart ban then for the Atlantis Leviathans. Ymir Ishtar, right alongside Ymir Cupid as far as one of the most popular duo lanes that we've seen drafted here as of late. The Cernanos first pick does leave open double hunter composition for the Solar Scarabs. Baronic, no stranger to Cern out of the mid lane. Been typical mages set in one of the games against the Titans as well, but leaving themselves a bit of room here for flexibility, Trelly, not revealing too much with that first pick.
Yeah, it does open up some doors if you want to go for the, Yarkor has the Freya in the back pocket, and I think he likes to get active. One thing I've noticed about this Solar Scarabs roster is that Yark, whether the team is behind, whether they're ahead, he wants to get aggressive in that lane, and he wants to look for 1v1s, whether that be, the on-hers, the Cupids, anything that can dash in, anything that can jump in and try and get in your face. Yark is not afraid. He is not intimidated by the 9-game win streak. He does not care, that sort of things. You can see that the Atlas is going to be locked in here. That's going to bring some more pressure over towards that duo lane. I'm wondering, will we see Yark's pick? It looks like probably not, as the Cthulhu is hovered and locked in. So double Guardian. That almost cements the double ADC comp for me as well. So you got to imagine some Hunter bans could be coming through, but also Sanford Soccer's pick still going to be left up in the air.
Yeah, remember, you mentioned the Freya. Could be a worthwhile ban for the Atlantis Leviathans as well. Something Yark has played in the past and would slot nicely into a composition like this. That said, we've also seen Soul here as of late. So the point being, if you're looking for one of the magical ADCs, definite options for Yark, though Freya maybe his priority pick. Over on the flip side, Leviathan still lots of priority here. You worried, if you're the Leviathans, about Panatom's pick getting taken away? You worried about Shinto getting one more of his picks banned away? And Naja,
Wow.
a pick that saw a lot of play earlier on in Phase 3, has dipped down just a little bit, Trelly. But smack dab in the middle at a 50% win rate provides some good setup here for the Leviathans.
Yeah, definitely not something I expected. Naja, certainly not bad, and also has been really solid in the meta, as you said, but doesn't have that, that same level of getting to the back line and 100-0ing as the Susanos do. And it looks like the Leviathans are just going to ban away the Susano, ban away the Pele, and grab that Naja for themselves, trying to set up as well as, get aggressive. I think Naja has a lot of different play styles you can go for. You can go for just full crit if you're trying to one-shot off that ultimate, or more than likely the pen and Shield of Regrowth zooming around the map style of play that you can just be setting up for your team. So a couple different play styles available to Pantom on that Naja, if that is where this pick goes. So the Leviathans can sit on that for a while, but the Solar Scarabs still worried about what Hax is going to play, so banning away the RDO, probably a smart call. I wouldn't be surprised if still worried about Guardians in that lane. The Xing Chen's got to be on the topic of conversation as well. Haddix has been loving that pick over in the solo.
Probably smart now to ban away the Poseidon. So I was, with Vulcan and Poseidon usually banned out in conjunction with one another, especially now with a Naja and a Ymir, both of those great setup for Kraken. I like the mindset from the Solar Scarabs with their final ban, but still wondering where their presumably carry pick will go. Could also be for mid lane still for Baronic, depending on where they want to put that Cern. Horus would be interesting for the Leviathans. Think about Haddix in the journey that his god pool has had on the Bolts. Played a lot of this pick. Has also played it as a member of the Leviathans in a Game 2 win over the Titans. Just a week or so ago, went 1-0 and 10. So mobility now immediately increases for this Leviathans draft.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is just a pick that Haddix really likes to go to, and it can play incredibly safe on it. I liked the Achilles hover for a second, but it looks like the Horus is more so what the Leviathans were looking for. Tons of CC as well as actually really decent wave clear, especially the way that Haddix decides to build. That does leave open the Wheelix comp here for the Solar Scarabs. I was wondering if this was going to come through. Not too many great opportunities to pull out of dashes and leaps and things like that, but lots of knockups here for the Solar Scarabs. Cthulhu and Atlas are going to be some great combos, even Charybdis to an extent. I think Sanford Soccer has some great options. As long as you're fighting with your double Guardians, they've got plenty of team fight. I think that's what the Solar Scarabs are after here, as well as Wheelix just has tremendous opportunity to get active in the early, probably winning 1v1s versus Naja, barring some lucky crits, things like that. I imagine this is exactly what the Scarabs are after.
One of Sam's storied picks. And we've talked about this Scarabs team and them readjusting some of their draft strategy and a win against the Titans. There's a lot of leaning into what they liked playing. And we said, all right, if that's your game plan, you better make it work. And it worked in that game. A Wheelix definitely in the back pocket. A Sam did not work in game 1 against the Titans, though, at 1-4-2 in that specific matchup. The pick for Shinto ends up rolling in, and it's a Hell, which Trelly has felt reserved for only a handful of mid laners in the league, even just throughout the year in its entirety. Not used to seeing the pick, but does provide some additional sustain and utility, as well as some damage to the Leviathans draft.
Yeah, Hell is one of those picks that can really just ruin a team fight, especially if the Hell player's on point. We've seen Paul play it in times past. We know Shinto has a Hell in the back pocket. As you said, probably not the meta for it, but this is exactly when Hell becomes strong, when you're not expecting her, when you think you've got some guaranteed CC and the cleanse comes through, when you think you can walk up and clear the wave, and then you remember, oh yeah, Hell's got really great wave clear early on, especially when she's fighting with her jungler. So I expect Shinto and Pantom to be comboing really well with this pick, as well as just so much annoyance. You can't always count on the cleanse, and you have to imagine the Solar Scarabs. Maybe they're prepared for this, maybe not, but I wouldn't have been expecting it.
Well, and so much that we've talked about with the Leviathans, not only throughout this phase, but throughout the year in general, has been the late game focus from this team. Of course, a team that can get active earlier on in the game, but a team that thrives when the game goes late. Those split-second shot-calling, macro game type decisions, team fight type decisions, Leviathans just so good at that. Do you see this, Trelly, then, for the Leviathans as a composition that either wants to go late, can go late, should go late? But if we do go late, do you think it's a comp that can thrive?
I think it's a comp that gets better as the time goes on, for sure. I mean, the Solar Scarabs, they're not worried about late game either. That's not one of those situations where the double Hunter comp is going to get worse as time goes on. But the Leviathans they're not afraid to go to 30-plus minutes with a composition like this. Hell is only going to get more safe and do more damage as long as your team is playing around it. If Shinto can live through the Cthulhu Ultimate, I imagine the Leviathans are sitting just fine in this team fight. That is going to be their plan, and it's all going to be on, Ymir, Naja, Horus peeling for this pick. So much sustain comes through from that Hell.
Anti-heal
could
be an important topic of conversations that our casters have throughout this game. We talked about it a lot yesterday, and some of the downfalls of lack of anti-heal. This one's interesting. It's a 4-set loss streak versus a 9-set win streak. Which one will win the day? We've got to go over to Gormizer and Mifflin to find out.
That's right. Thanks so much, Dave and Trelly on the desk. It's Gore. It's Mifflin. And it's an exciting matchup that we have here, Mifflin. For one side, it's to see whether or not the Scarabs are going to be able to really kind of jump things forward the way they would like. On the other side, Leviathans are on a 9-set win streak. That has to feel incredible for them. And if you're looking at these two teams, the desk mentioned a lot of it. I think we can talk about the Leviathans in a little bit. Instead, I want to zoom in on Sam. It was the person we interviewed, the player we highlighted, and a topic of conversation there in Picks and Bans, because it feels like this team can work around him to make sure that this Wheelish maybe hits a little hard, kind of put their eggs, maybe not all in one basket, but really make sure that Sam can be elevated to do the things he needs to.
Yeah, Sam, I think, is more so going to be acting as a bridge in this game, though. Wheelish is not your late-game hyper carry, especially with a double Hunter composition, but Wheelish is going to be your bridge to the late game. It's going to be the place where the Solar Scarabs put all of their action for the first 15, maybe even 20 minutes. Is if Sam for Soccer's there, good fight. If he isn't, you probably don't want to take the engagement. So I think Sam has certainly got some gods in particular he'll be keeping his eyes on. Shinto on this Hell, very susceptible to some early Wheelish damage. Zapman on the Ishtar as well could find himself struggling if that matchup lines up against him early on. But as far as whether or not Sam is going to be the focal point of this team, he will be, but maybe only for the first 15.
Yeah, it falls off eventually,
Yeah.
and then we're starting to talk about Baronic, we're talking about Hardcore, probably a lot of Hurrywin and Scary D at the forefront of those team fights, given how this comp has worked out. On the other side, as you had mentioned, taking on the Leviathans, Shinto late game healing feels like it's going to be very helpful. The other thing, and this catches my eye, but with a Horus, with a Ymir, with a Najah, honestly to an extent, even with the Ishtar, but really those first three, Leviathans have a lot of opportunities to just choose a fight, should they so please. Thought Panatom maybe would have tried to choose a fight in the dual lane. Instead, it's all about the Inju Scepter. They're going to be able to secure that. Sam's here, though. Sash good. Locks that down. Beads from Panatom just to make sure he can disengage. The Leviathans get the camp and they back away.
So very nearly Panatom loses his life there. If Sam for Soccer lands that third ability properly, Panatom up in the air, the follow-up would have been clean from the Solar Scarabs. Looked to me like Sam wasn't quite ready for that slow from Hurrywin. Predicts the aim well, but because that slow applies, Panatom not quite in range of that ability. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, and nothing gained for the Solar Scarabs despite being ventured. Do like to see it though. That's exactly what I was calling for from Sam for Soccer. Get active early, look for those opportunities. Even if it doesn't come up great for you, at least you've tried.
I was going to say, he uses his blink. It's going to be up, what, 40-ish, maybe 35 seconds faster than Panatom's speeds. So there's a window of opportunity there. You had talked about it, but the Hell pretty susceptible to this. So I would not be surprised if Sam comes back around with a vengeance there into the mid lane. And this Hell, the Deskin mentioned it as well, has not been picked up a whole ton. Has not really been winning, I think, a whole ton out of those games either. I believe I've seen the Titans. Paul has played her a couple of times, but really has not been prevalent. But if you talk about the way the Leviathans want to play, and if you talk about their history, right, we used to joke about the fact that 5,000 gold down at 20, 25 minutes for the Leviathans was still a lead for them, given how they played the late game. That doesn't give me a lot of confidence for the Scarabs when I think about what a Hell can do in the late game if this Wheelish isn't shutting her down pretty consistently. And now it's Veronic instead who's in a little bit of trouble. And so the pressure is coming up from Panatom. They don't quite get that kill there. But if Shinto is allowed to just kind of hang out freely, I don't know that there's going to be too much to be said for the Scarabs.
Yeah, and Shinto's going to be scaling real hard with this Book of Thoth start as well. I think the conversation of Leviathans 30 minutes in, that's when we want to start playing the game, it has essentially ended because of meta shifts.
Sure. They're still real good at 30 minutes.
They are incredibly good. And in the last couple of weeks, these games have been going a little bit on the long side, but Hell, I think, probably eats a bit of an inherent nerf. You've got a sustained style play on a largely immobile mage up against massive bursts from the Solar Scarabs. Baronic Warrior Core are able to connect those ultimates. It'll be very difficult for Hell to survive some of those situations. But late game for the Leviathans, I think, has got some really intelligent answers to the Solar Scarabs late game team fight. You've already got the Heavenly picked up from Rongyu. Shinto's going to give you a movement speed buff and light stance every single time, which means once Cthulhu descends into madness, first cleanse immunes the knockup, and you're just too fast for him to keep up with you. Could be the Leviathans playing a cat and mouse game in the late game. Just walk up, force the Solar Scarabs forward, wait for those massive team fight tools, and then get out.
Try to chase him down. Up into the sky goes Sam. And he's going to come crashing down to the waiting arms of Shinto. Ooh. Damage not quite there. Good shell from Hurry. Gets the jungler out of there. Prevents first blood for the Leviathans. While the Oracle Harpies might just be a consolation prize, still going to go the way of the Chaos team here. And it's small amounts of camp control at this point, Mifflin. Admittedly, the gold is negligible. And the experience, negligible between the two. And so it is going to be a very important first blood the longer it takes to get.
To me, Hurrywin actually able to steal away that scepter. That's massive for the Solar Scarabs.
Really?
Getting a bit more pressure, stripping away some of that experience in gold, making sure that you're able to get at least one wave of the contestable farm. Hurry as well, been splitting a little bit less than Rongyu has. Only really taking over to 5 first because of that solo steal on the scepter. So Scarabs dual lane in a pretty decent position. Imagine we see Hurrywin leave lane very shortly. Just allow Yarkor to operate on an island. I mean, this Charybdis is built to just survive on her own, so don't necessarily need to put too much help there. And if Hurrywin can get towards mid, then you've got the Wombo combo of pull into Gravity Surge with Sam for Soccer. So putting pressure on Shinto would just go a long, long way. But Sam's too low. No way it happens anytime soon. He's probably heading back to base first.
Yeah, gonna spend some of that time recuperating before he jumps back into this. I do want to, before we see too much picked up, ask you about anti-heal, because it seems like a kind of wide field that's going to be out there. They've got the Tainted Steel for Scary D. Nothing else so far, but do you anticipate that we have to see something like a Cursed Ankh coming from one of the frontliners on the Scarabs, Brawlers maybe for Sam? Like, where can they really itemize into this? Because without a Mage, without a Divine Ruin, you are a little more limited.
I'm going to speak in an absolute, not unlike a Sith Lord.
They
If
only
I
deal
don't
in
see an Ankh pickup from the Solar Scarabs, the Solar Scarabs don't want to win.
But fair enough. And right now, fair enough, Wrong You, unfortunate for him. Locked down in the midst of the jungle. Scarabs on the board for first blood with a nice little gank from Sam. You had called it. He back to base, shows up over on left, is able to help find a kill. It's onto the support. That is going to be a nice, comfortable lead for them. Now Hurry starting to get aggressive. Grabs Zap. Hardcore is coming up in the meantime. Doesn't seem like they're going to have enough aggression there to make anything happen. But it's a kill and done for the Scarabs.
And I think that's a combo we're going to see from the Scarabs on Wrong You pretty consistently throughout the early game. The unfortunate nature of the CC combo from the Scarabs for the Leviathans is, are you going to dedicate Shards of Ice to every single knockup? Every time Hurrywin walks at you and presses 2, are you just going to go ahead and use your CC immune ultimate? If that's the case, your ultimate's going to be permanently on cooldown. And if it's not the case, you're always concerned about San Soccer hovering maybe over a wall in the jungle or nearby, and a Gravity Surge could very well just take away your life. So Wrong You, I think, learns a valuable lesson early in this game. San Soccer is willing to ult you, and with a Gauntlet of Thieves start, no meditation, it's not that Male Renewal med build that we've been seeing a whole lot from the majority of other aggressive support players. Well, you're probably just going to die to that combo, at least for the first 2 or 3 items in your build.
It's rough to be a Ymir sometimes, man. You can't move fast. You get knocked up. You have no CC immunity, like you said, except for the ult. Poor Wrong You, probably going to be feeling that a couple of times. Might end up happening over here. A lot of aggression between the Hunters. A lot of boxing that's been going on between them. But nothing too crazy in the dual lane, save for that first blood. And getting a piece of it for Hurry and Hardcore has to feel really solid. Panatom, Shinto make their way over to the left-hand side of the map just to help secure some of these jungle engagements, the Interceptor as well. Make sure that the Scarabs don't have much wiggle room to try and get aggressive. And it's a small farm game. When you look up at it, even with the first blood, it's only about 200, 300 gold separating these teams. Not a whole lot that is going to matter individually for these guys, split across all 5 of them. And we're really looking at team fights. I mean, at this point, you're looking at mid, 3v3 engagements, things like that.
Could be looking at Gold Fury.
Apparently an early Gold Fury. 8 minutes into the game. Sam, Veronic, Hurry, and Hardcore all rotating in for it, and there's not a Leviathan in sight. Not only is it first blood, but it's a Gold Fury pickup for the Scarabs. Playing well. Scary D just has to get out of here. Good knock-up alongside the ult. Make sure he stays alive. And the Leviathans getting caught off guard.
Yeah, I love that call from the Solar Scarabs. Even with Oracle Vision belonging to the Leviathans, the pathing from the Scarabs confirm exactly where the Leviathans are on the map. You know you've got a 3-stack there. You know Zapman's pretty unlikely to walk in on his own and also wasn't really nearby either. So the Scarabs pull it and say, look, you can know about it, but there's really not much you can do with the current positioning, especially with Scary D hovering so close by in mid. That Descent into Madness could have been such a strong slowdown tool.
Well, Hardcore has to look carefully. Zapman throws out the ult, gets some damage, not enough. Hardcore barely lives, has some teammates behind him. Is Zap going to go for the dive? Jumps under the tower, just misses, but takes a lot of damage in the process. Sam is already backed off, so not going to be able to capitalize on the low health Hunter. And instead, it's the Leviathans getting aggressive on top of Zapman's poke, going for some jungle invades, stripping away whatever buffs they can.
Such a smart rotation again from the Solar Scarabs. If Sam Soccer isn't nearby, if Hurrywin isn't nearby, Yark's just getting dove under his tower by the 2 members of the Leviathans in the jungle. But because they made that rotation to confirm the safety of their ADC, it's a clean win for the Solar Scarabs. A Gold Fury and First Blood for nothing. But this is highly aggressive.
Wow, I mean, on the speed buff, going for Sam up into the sky.
He's got to be done.
Panatom. They're going to knock him down low, and there's got to be damage afterward. Shards of Ice, unnecessary. Shinto cleans that one up on the collateral and helps pick him up with the help of Panatom. And 1 for 1. First Blood still going in favor of the Scarabs. They got that Gold Fury as well. I'm starting to see a Pyromancer sniffed out here for the Leviathans. Not a lot of opportunities for the Scarabs to get into the fight.
Hurrywin nearby. Scary D has ultimate. They might be able to get the Leviathans off, but they haven't got a whole lot of steal potential. Need to make that play soon. Not going to be walking in, though, it seems.
Pyro sitting at 1/3 HP. Leviathans are going to drop it. Feeling just threatened enough that they don't want to deal with it. Hurry still has ult. Cthulhu's Cthulhu. So the Scarabs managed to salvage an opportunity that existed there for the Leviathans. And keeping that limited the way it was, I mean, you're still talking about a very negligible gold lead, nothing massive for either team. That could have been a massive swing if it was a kill objective.
Where'd all that experience come? Are the Leviathans are 2K up in experience? Who's holding all of it? Mid jungle, I suppose. Panatom and Shinto both a level up on their direct lane opponent. Wrong Yu's got a level as well. Interesting, considering Hurrywin was a level up before the Gold Fury had even started. Scarabs, though, they're keeping their eyes on the gold. Pyro just going to go down for free once more. That's very important, not only for putting some resources in the Scarabs' pockets, but considering how strong the Leviathans really are as of right now, just making sure that they can't go to the Pyromancer themselves, probably equally valuable to the Solar Scarabs. Now you can start really confirming your own farm. Let's get some rotations towards your own buffs. The Solar Scarab's going to have that ability without having to worry about the Leviathans just running down an objective.
Oh, Baronic caught off guard outside the mid lane, slowed and killed. Shinto picks that one up, and now the Leviathans looking to continue their aggression. Red buff was stolen last time by them. They won it here. Knock up good into the pull from Sam. Gets the damage onto Panatom, but it's not enough. The sash and the follow-up from the Leviathans make sure to put down the jungler for the Scarabs, and now it's a 4v3. Scary D up into that descent into madness. 5v3 with Haddix joining the fray, just trying to find the next target. Great wall, forces an ult from Hardcore, and the Leviathans are on a tear, burning through Scary D's health bar, taking him down like it is nothing. And they're gonna go back, salvage a red buff just for the sake of it, but they get a massive amount of kills.
Yeah, that's why you want anti-heal early on. Fortunately, San Francisco Soccer does have Brawler's beat stick now, but wasn't quite able to stick around in that fight long enough. The Leviathans essentially W key, find their initial pick and say, Haddix is going to heal, Panatom's going to self-heal, we've got Shinto healing as well. There's no way. We need to stop walking forward, and there's nothing the Solar Scarabs could have done. Worth noting as well, Zatman has itemized very well to deal with early rotations from Scary D.
Yeah.
Kin size in that second slot, so Scary transforms and says, oh, I'm not exactly the tank that I thought I was. My HP is disappearing, starts to backpedal, and not enough peel from his team. Phantom Shell's got to become a topic of conversation very shortly. Seems as if Hurrywin has finally finished his up, so the next wall from Rongyu maybe won't find as much value. But the fight back when you've only got one Phantom Shell is go in and attack. Phantom Shell through, and you need to make sure that you're punishing Rongyu on the initial. If you use it to just walk away, well, then Rongyu's just going to do it again.
Well, we just saw Sam try to ult Haddix over there in the short lane. Did not quite get the pull that he was looking for. But they did, I want to say, maybe put it in quotes, learn their lesson, right? Still 2 levels for Hurry before we can see potentially a cursed Ankh for the team. But if you're looking over towards the jungle, if you're looking in solo, we've now got the Brawlers, we've got a Contagion. So you're getting some of that anti-heal online. But Mifflin, I'm going to ask you, is it a mite too late, right? Is it that last fight enough that the Leviathans can kind of start to roll this, or do they have it now and so the Scarabs can step up to, you know, an Oni Fury, step up to a Pyromancer and control the fight?
Experience is slowly becoming critical, I think. The Leviathans have got a major advantage in that department, but experience as you start to tick over to that level 15, 16 mark begins to mean a little bit less than gold. Hurry narrowly escapes with his life as that man's a little bit quicker with that Rolling Thunder, catches that dash. Hurry probably just dead to rights. I'm not so certain the Leviathans have put themselves in like a winning position immediately, right? We're not win con just yet, but if I'm the Solar Scarabs, I'm becoming concerned about it, and you're really hoping that Hurrywin ticks over to level 12 before this next team fight, because Scary D's not going to be your Ankh pickup. He's gone for Teleport Blink. You can't really expect it from Sam for Soccer. Your carries, Baronic and Yarkor, need to really concern themselves elsewhere. I would have thought if Yarkor's got a Sunder, maybe you do wish Yarkor got the Ankh.
Yeah, the fight is either going to break out or it's a free Fury here for the Leviathans. Oni Fury started up, burned down, and it is going to be confirmed. What was sitting around to 500, starting to grow their lead for the Scarabs has essentially been stripped away, 1,100, which isn't a massive amount for the Leviathans in gold, but you had mentioned it, 3,000 experience. For a second there is hovering around 4,000. A lot that is giving them a massive comfort when it comes into these fights. And a majority of that is in mid. I mean, Shinto's 2 levels up right now, and it's got to feel bad. You've already got the breastplate. You've now got an Ob Shard as well. It feels like this hell just gets to exist for free at 3-0.
Yeah, Shinto's got massive damage output, and the people that are going to be dealing with Shinto have to contend with the defense that he's already stacked up as well with that Breastplate of Valor. Just not a great situation. Fortunately, Sunder is going to help out a lot. I think if Yarkor can connect Sunder onto Shinto, you're probably already winning the team fight if Yarkor is hitting Shinto, but that'll make it a little bit easier. You're going to pick up a couple of pretty decent itemization items. You've got the kin size on both Baronic and Yarkor, so should be able to burn through a bit of that HP. But my concern now with Shinto is not just the survivability, which is crazy to say that you're not concerned about that with the hell, but it's the damage output. That Ob Shard in 3rd slot with the recent changes to Book of Thoth now having penetration when it's fully stacked. Shinto is just doing a lot more damage, a lot faster than I think any individual member of the Solar Scarabs can return.
I thought there was going to be some sort of massive breakout. Pyromancer just spawned back. Scarabs positioning themselves on the right side jungle to make sure they can get in. They're burning it pretty quickly. Already half health, 1/3 HP. Jump in from the Leviathans. Not able to find the steal, but they might be able to find something afterward. Locked down in CC hell is Scary D. But is the damage there? It might not be enough. Knockup's good, and now it's Wrong You instead. Pulled in by Sam. A great aggressive ult from Haddix. They're trying to move forward on the Leviathans, but they still haven't got the kill. They've lost Wrong You. Finally, they're starting to pick things up, but they lose that man in the process. So far, a 2-for-3 trade. Leviathans knocked up good damage. Sam looking to go on a tear, taken down by Haddix. It's 3-for-3, making it 4-for-3 with Shinto picking up a double. 5-0-3. It's a scrappy fight, but the Leviathans come out on top.
The Solar Scarabs, I think, got a lot more there than they were even expecting. Shutting down Panatom and the dual lane of the Leviathans, very, very valuable considering the positioning they were in. Scarabs also confirmed the Pyromancer. But it's that split engagement once more that normally I would say doesn't favor the Scarabs. You want to fight around your Cthulhu. But because Scary D survives for so long in that fight and his pathing keeps the Leviathans within striking distance of Baronic, of Sam for Soccer, I think that fight goes very well for the Solar Scarabs. Of course, the Leviathans maybe won out in the literal kills, 4-3, but with Pyromancer, tips the scales a little bit in favor of the Order side.
That was a wild fight, by the way. There's so much that was going on. Very split engagements.
I got whiplash.
Yeah. I mean, the aggression from the Leviathans, the deterrent from the Scarabs, really good pulls so far from Sam the last couple of engagements. We saw one that missed in solo, but otherwise it's been very on point. Most of the time, and you had highlighted this earlier, pulling on Wrong You and unfortunately locking this Ymir down. And what otherwise felt like a really clean kill, or could have been a clean kill on the Scary D. So like you said, a fun one to watch, beneficial for the Scarabs, still a little behind. And now that we're about that 18.5-minute mark, fights like that, if they're not as absolutely demolishing in terms of numbers, will end up resulting in that nice big objective on the right-hand side of the map. So a lot of opportunities for both the Scarabs and the Leviathans, and to the point where, and me and you have talked about this a lot over the last few weeks, but it's a comfortable lead for the Leviathans. But it is by no means anything that is the game at this point. And 19 minutes, when we start to hit 20, 21, 22, if this lead hasn't grown by a substantial amount, it doesn't really mean too much.
Yeah, especially with how volatile the game is right now. With the Beads Aegis ruling, you can't have both. It seems like one massive play can really just turn around an entire match. So if Baronic connects like a 3-4-man ultimate, or Yarkor does the exact same thing. Not easy to do on these Hunters, but certainly could absolutely switch up a match or even the entirety of the game state. So the Leviathans, I think, going to show proper respect, especially considering their gold lead not so massive just yet. But you still are just hitting massive power spikes after massive power spikes. Now Shinto, with an entire Soul Reaver finished up, is going to just really make short work of the front line of the Solar Scarabs.
Wow, really?
Yeah, this is an early Fire Giant. The Scarabs are scattering. They are getting there as quick as possible.
Yeah, trying to get into the fight. Fire Giant's already half health. Scary D taken up into the sky. It's not going to be a lot of damage coming from Panatom, but the follow-up is what they're waiting on. Ult is going to be okay, but not enough. Scary D walled off and taken down, isolated from his team. And now in a 4v5, our core hasn't rotated over. It's going to go for the tier 1 on left, make a tier 2 push. Meanwhile, Leviathans back on the Fire Giant. Half health once again. Wall just a little shy, and there's a Phantom Shell to make sure Hurrywin's able to disengage. Fire Giant's low. Hurry with the ult. He's going to have to fire it a little too soon. Leviathan stop the DPS. Now they're turning targets onto the support himself. Leviathans get the FG, get the kill. And it's a 2 plus FG for their tier 2 on the left.
Hurrywin made him pay for that Fire Giant play. The Leviathans are guaranteed Fire Giant when Yarkor doesn't rotate, but Hurrywin, at least in just keeping presence, slows it down, potentially threatens a steal, but buys time, most importantly, so the Yarkor can actually take out a tier 2 on left, so the Solar Scarabs can actually get the Primal Fury. It still is a massive win for the Leviathans, but still certainly something for the Scarabs, and it all comes off the back of Hurrywin's sacrifice.
I always love plays like this, using the Horus ult to close the gap. They take the tier
wave?
2 and then immediately brings the wave, brings some minions over towards the Phoenix. They do a lot of damage to Scary D. In fact, Haddix might not be done. They want to find a little bit more. Right Bird does go down. Wrong Use low. They've got a Trebuchet here to help Haddix. Low as well. Polymorph killed off for their aggression.
Good wall. Wrong you buys some space. San Soccer leaps forward. It's a reinitiation.
Cannot believe the Scarabs want this. Panatom is going to be surrounded when he comes down, but he gets the kill onto Sam and needs a little bit of help. Hurry getting burned, and the burn is there from Zapman, but it's returned tenfold by Baronic, staying alive just barely, and it's enough to be able to get the kill onto Shinto. It's a 4-man wipe, looking like a deicide on the border here for the Scarabs after a defense. They lose the bird, but they take down the team.
You know, I think it still is a value trade. Hold on, okay. Good play, Yarkor. Maintain your life. I thought maybe Panatom had a little bit left in the tank there. But it's still a value play for the Leviathans breaking the base, just being able to take out that right side bird. With map state as it is, what's best case for the Solar Scarabs? 2 tier 1s and a tier 2 as well, maybe all tier 2s. If you're able to operate pretty quick, they should be able to do it, keep that gold interesting and actually in their favor. But now the Leviathans can continue pressure elsewhere on the map while passively winning on the right-hand side. I think that might still be good for the Levi's with this sustained style composition, just constantly applying pressure to like the tier 1 and mid or the tier 2 can really make it difficult for the Solar Scarabs to do much on the map of their own volition. It's tough to say, right? I mean, it is a massive swing for the Scarabs. Of course, a great defense, good response, but taking down a bird is so valuable. My SMITE calculus is struggling to figure out who truly came out ahead from it. We'll see how the Leviathans choose to address this.
Yeah.
I'd like to see them just group up as 5 and keep up their pressure, or even do it as quickly as possible so the Solar Scarabs haven't got an opportunity to regroup and spend up all that gold. With the sustained draft, yeah, I think the Leviathans are still in a position to just go ahead and push.
We had talked about anti-heal earlier. We see it come to I think, a big play there. Divine Ruin has been picked up by Hurry. Did get the Curse Stomp, so as you had said, they at least want to win, right? I'm sure keeping that. The question I have for you, and like you said, you wanted to see aggression. I think they're looking for aggression here in the jungle from the Leviathans. But with the right side Phoenix, it is very important when a Phoenix goes down. But because it's so close to FG, it's pushed up pretty well. Like you said, the SMITE calculus becomes a little more rough. But does this afford many opportunities? I mean, none of the neutral, like, big mini bosses are up for the Leviathans to take. In fact, the Scarabs got the Pyromancer. And it feels like even though, you know, gold swings are going to go a little bit more back and forth, still in favor of the Scarabs after that. They can hold on to that right-hand side. They aren't much more worse for wear. Wall from Rung Yu, good on the Scary. There's a carpet. Good pull from Hurry. Maybe the response they need.
Yikes.
Damage onto Scary D is just absolutely insane from both Shinto and Zap. Power spikes have been that conversation. Now level 20 for a majority of the carries in the game. Still haven't upgraded 2 of the starters. One there for Zap and one for Veronic that I was thinking were going to be maybe the necessary power spikes for the next fight. Scary D goes in with the ult. Gets a knock up. Good wall from Rong Yu. Make sure that the Scarabs stay scattered. Doesn't seem like they're going to have the follow-up, the control they thought they would. The pull potentially coming down from Sam. Instead, it's Panatom with the re-engage. Blink forward. Has to ult away. Barely stays alive, but alive he is. Barely again from Hurry. Now just has to run away. Shinto doing work to keep his team alive right now in terms of the healing. Same for Haddix. Turn tail and run for the Leviathan. Sam is here. Scary is here, and they want a little bit more. They get rid of Zapman. Great ult from Haddix. Make sure to get the team out of there. But with the positioning, the timing, Fire Giant's back in 15. this could be the Scarabs starting to run the game.
Yeah, the Levi is just a bit too trigger happy on the reinitiation. Panatom going in with that sash, I think, cost them the entire fight because you had already won so hard. Scary D blinks in, Descent into Madness, and Travolta memes. Just looks around like, oh no, nobody's here. I mean, they're too fast. Shinto with the movement speed boost to his team. We're just able to walk away, but because Panatom goes back in so early, the Solar Scarabs still do get a great team fight. Now a massive advantage around the fire.
Now there's the thing you had mentioned though, a massive fire wave makes sure Scary D's not in this engagement, so they have the advantage, but they're getting taken down. Baronic, that shield only does so much, the damage is too good. The Leviathans find one, but Shinto already incredibly low. Scary D just needs a little bit more. Hardcore finds the last hit. He finds two immediately in this fight. Haddix, Panatom have to run away. Zap hasn't even respawned from last time to try and win this fight. The Scarabs stand 4 strong and turn their eyes back towards the Fire Giant 26 minutes in. And they're holding their own up against the Leviathans at 9-1 in the standings. It doesn't matter that they're first seed. They're holding them against this. Panatom burned down and killed off, staggered from the team. And that's a free Fire Giant. Well, not a free. They worked for it. And they got it.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't cost them much, but it certainly was a bit of effort. Surprised to see Panatom again just walk in there afterward. I think his idea is if I can buy some time around fire, right side Phoenix will go down to the fire minion waves, but you gotta use Sash to immune that pull from Hurrywin or you're just gonna die immediately. Doesn't, just dies immediately instead. The Leviathans, I mean, they were so close to closing out this game, and now it's all in the Solar Scarabs' favor. Fire Giant on 4, only missing out on Baronic, but not a big deal. You've got another Hunter that can deal with these towers pretty easily. Yarkor gonna have to take up that mantle. The only ADC with Fire Giant buff on the Solar Scarabs. And they haven't even got to worry about any more enhanced minion waves on the right. Scarabs could make short work of the remaining structures from the Leviathans as well. This is a siege composition.
Yeah.
The only difficulty I imagine the Solar Scarabs run into is finishing off kills against the Leviathans, especially when the Leviathans buckle down and get defensive. So far, I think the only thing that has cost the Levi's these team fights is either over-aggression or overextension.
Yeah.
Pretty easy to avoid both of those when you're locked down inside of your own Phoenix. So the Solar Scarabs going to have to earn this one. Certainly not easy from here. I imagine we see them really dedicate to taking down the towers. We could see Phoenixes go down with 5 members of the Leviathan still standing because it is going to be that difficult to actually finish off these kills. But it all depends. Maybe Stanford Soccer finds a great gravity surge and just isolates one. That one's going to be hard to come by. CC immunity afforded to his entire team by Shinto. Every set of beads still available as well for the Leviathans. I don't know how this one's going to go down, but it's going to take a while.
6-0-6. The slash line there for Hardcore. Absolutely insane to think about at this point in the game. The amount of deaths that have happened. It's still having a goose egg in the death column and putting in a lot of work for the team, like you said. Only Hunter with the Fire Giant. The team with the Scarab starts to get aggressive here on the left. There's a Trebuchet they're burning through first. A lot easier to get than to the Phoenix. The Odysseus' bow doing a little bit of work as well. And this is where those pre-30-minute Fire Giants can always feel a little more awkward. When you're just ahead enough that you could probably win a fight. But as you said, when the Leviathans are in a spot that most of their unfortunate tumbles over the last few minutes have been on overextension, we'll see what they can do. Scary D blinks forward. Haddix matches that as well. Good pull on to Haddix, but they don't have the damage. They get rid of Zapman entirely. It doesn't even matter if the rest of the Leviathans live here. They're getting zoned out. The Phoenix goes down. The Scarabs start marching forward, but they recognize don't get too aggressive too soon. Pull back. Make sure you get what you need. Don't overextend. They get their Phoenix. They're pulling the Leviathans away from the base, and it might just be what they wanted. Scary tries to bait them in. A little bit of damage. Wall just a little late there from Wrong Yu. Leviathans lose that, lose the bird, and have to stay under base.
Still 40 seconds to play with this Fire Giant, so Scary D should resustain a good deal. Teleporting in from base, actually, so full health already. Hurrywin, the only one significantly weakened and Minion Wave pushed up in mid. 15 seconds without Zapman. The Solar Scarabs getting some of those key cooldowns back up very shortly. They might get another bird here.
Good wall from Wrong Yu. He's going to prevent some of that range damage. Emperor's Armor
Give it
up there for Hurry, as well as for Wrong Yu. So Siege is interesting for both of these comps, but like you said, Double Hunters is something that is formidable. It would have been maybe even more devastating if Veronic managed to keep that buff. I guess get it in the first place since he died just before. Instead, left side Phoenix goes down. Scarabs are going to back off. They get the Pyromancer. A couple minutes before the Fury comes back. Fire Giant wears off. So it's going to be a reset buy. Finish your upgrades. If you're looking at Veronic, sold the starter here and just now gets the Wind Demon. We're talking about power spikes earlier for the Leviathans. I think now the Scarabs are matching that conversation.
Yeah, the Scarabs are in a phenomenal position now. They're going to have advantage around fire. Minion waves already pushed up on the left-hand side, and we figured out that Scary D is tanky enough to just go in with the ultimate. Doesn't really have to worry about just the DPS from Zapman, especially with all that DPS that is behind Scary D. Yarkor in particular, his target selection in these team fights has just been perfect, man. I mean, I couldn't design an AI to choose targets better. This is absolutely wild. Finds 3 autos in a Zapman, removes him from the fight expeditiously, applies the slow to make sure that there's chase down potential onto Wrong U. Yarkor is doing a lot of heavy lifting right now and is looking great for his team. But it is worth noting that team fights around the Fire Giant are largely dictated by the front line. And so initiation from Scary D and Hurrywind going to be the topic of conversation for the Solar Scares. Whether or not they can get the fight started on the right foot, I think will be very indicative of the pacing of this next engagement. Similarly, on the other side, the Leviathans are slowed down, but Wrong U's got to be the one to separate these fights or his team, especially in the neutral territory of the jungle. These Ymir walls find a little bit more value. Without your ADC, though, I mean, you haven't exactly got the most follow-up on them.
Fire Giant started by the Scarabs. You had mentioned it, but advantage to them in a 4v5. Zap still on left. Fire's getting low. Scarabs managed to pick that one up, no problem. And now it's enhanced Fire Giant on all 5 players for the Scarabs. Talking about a 10,000 gold lead, then some if you factor in the Fire Giant. 2 exposed Phoenixes. Fire Minion working wonders on the left-hand side of the map. They're going to go, it feels like, for the Oni Fury. Get some empowered minions across the map. Give themselves a little breathing room before the siege starts.
Just grab as much as you can to prep. Maybe upgrade a couple of your relics as you head back to base. Upgraded beads will help you out a good deal. I'm looking at Sanford Soccer. Nothing better than jump in, feather step, beads, feather step again immediately. You'll probably just remove Shinto from the game, given that opportunity. Otherwise, relics for the Leviathans a bit lacking. Shinto still sitting on a tier 1 shell, not exactly ideal. No blink upgrades from Haddix or Panatom, so their DPS takes a pretty major hit. Flaming Blink just so good at dealing with these frontliners. If he can apply that true damage to Scary D, all of a sudden he's struggling a little bit more so, but not an opportunity just yet. The Leviathans instead rally around. Left side Phoenix respawned. 1 more enhanced minion wave, 2 rather. They've got to contend with on that left-hand side. Split the attention of the Leviathans. This is an opportunity for the Solar Scarabs to just group up as 5 and potentially force an engagement in mid and just allow your PvE to take out the bird.
Worth remembering, EFG, much easier. You like the minion waves to be there. You don't want to have to tank too much. But it is a lot easier for you and your squad. Just walk in, maybe if Sam had been feeling pretty aggressive there. Actually, with the Oni Fire Wave, that might be enough damage. Just a little shy of taking the bird. It's going to be the right-hand side for the rest of the Scarabs. Haddix goes in, tries to get Hardcore, and Hardcore walks out of that unscathed. Meanwhile, Sam has been splitting their attention, gets the Phoenix, as you had highlighted. Now the rest of the team can start to get aggressive on right.
Haddix doesn't have any way to close gap easily anymore without that blink. Good pull from Hurrywind, buys a little bit of space. That right side Phoenix taking so much damage, and Yarkor playing on the knife's edge. Wrong U might be able to find a wall here, but Scary D separates the fight.
Instead goes in now with the ultimate, is trying to set them up. Veronic moving forward, needs a little help from Hardcore. Low health for the carries, but the healing still going to be there enough to keep them alive, healthy, and well. In terms of getting aggressive, Sam not able to get a pull on the ult. Not a lot of relics used on the side of the Leviathans. Not a lot of ults used either. So far, defense on the right-hand side going well. Left side, Phoenix is about to have to contend once again, or the left side of the map, just in general, with the Fire Minions. The Scarabs have rewarded themselves. They've got 1:15 left on the power play.
And they've got all the space to play with as well. Sanford Soccer and Scary D combined in mid. Now it's going to be Haddix and Panatom with Shinto hovering, trying to decide where he wants to play. Hurrywind just needs to get Yarkor into this Phoenix, and maybe 3 auto attacks will finish it off, especially with Veronic hovering nearby as well. The Solar Scarabs are taking a very slow approach to this one. Need to find those opportunities. Waiting on Sanford Soccer's ultimate perhaps, as well as Scary D halfway back to that Descent into Madness. Those could be the go buttons, but if you wait that long, might lose the Fire Giant power play. Gravity Surge available, so Sanford Soccer's got the ability to make individual plays, but no easy knockups until Scary D gets that last pie slice.
It's a tough shell to crack here up against the Leviathans. But you got Fire Minions pouring into the base now onto the Titan wall. Good from Rong Yu to stop some of the DPS on the right side. Phoenix and manages to keep it alive for now. 24 seconds left on the power play.
York's hurt.
Here, Hark eating way too much damage. Scary D goes forward. No, frozen out before the Descent into Madness can come through. Has it finally, but takes so much damage. The wall is good, and Zapman turns the kill around. Now Panatom gets aggressive. This has punished the Leviathans in the past. Haddix trying to lead the way. Wants to get rid of this carry, the one that is causing so much trouble, but he's still causing trouble. Hardcore turns the damage around and punishes Haddix.
Onk is
Sure
good.
Stay careful.
Not able to re-sustain on the Leviathans. Yarkor, though, missed a couple too many auto attacks there. Baronic was sinking great damage into Haddix, but able to make his way out after that engage. You're right, Titan took a lot of damage, but with only one Phoenix being down and Fire Giant spawning in about a minute, that left side Phoenix will likely come back up for the Leviathans. When all three are standing, your Titan starts to slowly regenerate. Levi's extend this game once more, and I think they found their answer to the initiation for the Solar Scarabs. The only thing that's worked consistently is the dash and engage or blink engage from Scary D. And you've just removed one of those opportunities. Dash engage does no longer work, especially in these Phoenixes. Dash in, eat a freeze, eat a sash, a knock up, a stun from Haddix. The chain CC potential of the Leviathans has been on display all game, but finally the DPS is behind it as well. If Rong Yu sinks Asunder into him, Scary D's just dying to that every single time. So now Scary only has one way to get active. It's blink in, then ult immediately. If you eat any CC, this Cthulhu is removed from the game.
Leviathans is still on a timer, though. Titan half health. Fire Minions pushed up about halfway. Sam is on the left-hand side of the map right now. No teleport. And so might just be out of this. Might
He's not back
be going for something a little bit more. Circles around
on a ward.
The obelisk. Yeah, immediately onto a ward. So there's going to be a spot. Panatom starts backing. So is it going to be a jungle 1v1? The Phoenix is about to spawn back up. That is Sam's primary target right now. Doesn't seem like it's going to work too well. Panatom into the jungle is going to be able to call him out. Scarabs start up the Fire Giant. Have it hovering around half health. Baronic hardcore. A lot of burn between the two of them. Haddix jumps in to lead the way for the Leviathans, but is it too much?
So
now separated, and it's going to go down. Fire Giant goes the way of the Scarabs, and they're going to start surging forward in this 4v4. Now make it a 4v5. Leviathans caught out. Great ult from Haddix. Gets the disengage for the team. They save the left side Phoenix, but it costs them an EFG. And now it's going to once again fall back to this defense.
Scarabs have not got much left in the tank. Only ultimate available is Charybdis, and that's not exactly your most powerful team fight tool. Whereas the Leviathans have Zapman and Panatoms. Great ways to get involved in some of these team fights. I think the Scarabs should probably slow play this one. Relic's not looking so great. Cooldown's not looking so great. Poke some damage in, but if this fight becomes committal, the Leviathans have actually got a pretty decent advantage.
Ooh, good stun on the hardcore. The damage not there to get the kill just yet. Charybdis too slippery. Leviathan's not able to close that one out. Don't even burn relics on hardcore.
He
And
knows.
so you're feeling real solid. And look at this, with the build that you've got enough lifesteal. You walk to the jungle, you kill off a Scorpion, you get to come back as if nothing ever happened.
Now those cooldowns we were worried about starting to come back up as well. Hurry went very close to his ultimate. Scary D as well. Take a peek though. Scary D, no blink available. It is going to be very, very difficult for him to figure out an opportunity to walk in with that ultimate. Might just have to use it from a range if he doesn't want a repeat of the last situation. Ultimate's up. Descent to Madness available. Sanford Soccer on the opposite side. Lines up against Panatom. 1-4 split all the way across the map. Maybe you're just waiting for Sanford Soccer to confirm the positioning of Panatom before you go in, or just walk in.
Now they're going to try to get aggressive here. Walls up to safeguard the Phoenix. Safeguard it does. Hardcore Baronic trying to pour their damage into the frontliners here. Good freeze on the Hurry, but not a lot of follow-up damage. Instead, the knockup is better from the Scarabs. They force Rong Yu. Zapman fall back. Damage almost there from Hurwin, but not enough to find the kill. Doesn't matter for them. They get the Phoenix. Now they get to turn their eyes elsewhere. Left side still weak in mid. could be an easy goal for them. But you were mentioning a 1-4 split. Now it's a much more standard and a lot easier to deal with 1-4 split for the Scarabs because they're going to be closer together. Don't have a lot of ults to work with, though.
No, so maybe you just wait a little bit longer as well. I mean, you got a minute and a half. You could
Yeah,
wait
that's
for Scary's
eternity.
ultimate. I mean, you could wait. Could be that that's the position you're in, or maybe you're really hoping that Sanford can get the better end of this 1v1. Good wall from Wrong Hughes, got no follow-up, able to hide in that minion wave. But the anti-heal from the Solar Scarabs making it so difficult.
Oh, wow,
Sam
Sam
wins.
And he's going up into the sky. Panatom is going to come crashing down with the Phoenix damage. It's enough! And they take out the jungler for the Scarabs. A good defense on left keeps the Phoenix alive. Meanwhile, the Leviathans have managed to keep their mid-Phoenix going as well. Starting to get aggressive, looking for the chase. There's the slow on Hardcore immunity. Make sure that Hardcore doesn't have to deal with that. Zap got a stun onto Scary a little second ago, but did not matter. Dashes forward, and now they're going to get aggressive in turn. Scarabs looking for more freeze. Isn't going to be good enough here from Wrong Use. Shards of Ice channeled, and it doesn't even matter. Zap burning through a lot of health bars, but the Leviathans are eating just as much in the process. Shinto trying to get some work done in terms of healing, but this one's going to go back and forth. Finally, someone takes down Hardcore, but you're losing so much in the process. Shinto is gone. Still 2 members with the enhanced Fire Giant for 30 seconds on the Scarabs. Scary D's low. Herwin, well, Atlas. So it doesn't feel like they're going to get the chase they want to kill the last 2. Leviathans get scrappy. And Mifflin, I'm not even sure who comes out on top because of that.
Well, you maintain the base just about by the Leviathans. Right side Phoenix, the only one to fall down. Maybe a net even trade considering map state before this Fire Giant siege. Maybe you're even favoring the Leviathans. Afterward, they've got the right side Phoenix only, whereas previously it was the left. So you have a bit of an easier time stepping up to the Fire Giant. But I think the Levis may actually be losing in the sustain battle. There's so much anti-heal on the side of the Solar Scarabs that Scary D might straight up be putting out more healing. Doug, can we get a look at the healing done chart? Because Scary's doing a lot. No, still only half of what Shinto's done, but a lot of that is in combat healing, whereas Shinto is majority out of combat healing. Still 12,000 from your Cthulhu, who's already separating the fight so well. He is bringing a lot to his team right now. Scary D, great performance so far.
Like you said, 12, not just like 12K in combat, but like his wasn't really happening until the team fight started, right? You've there's a number fluffed in there for Shinto because of how much he was doing prior to that. So definitely something Leviathans need to be worried about. And you could, I mean, look, you're looking at Divine Ruin. I see a Pestilence. All the ones that we mentioned earlier. It feels like the Scarabs, they stacked heavy into dealing with this hell, and it's so far been paying off. What was, I want to say was 5-0 earlier for Shinto has now turned to 6-3. Scarabs back off a little bit from the Fire Giant bit, though, and the Leviathans take that as the go button. They're going to start the DPS, half health on the FG already.
Fast.
No way you're coin tossing this. 43 minutes into the game. Instead, they're turning their attention towards Scary. Scary is low. Scary is ulted. Scarabs take the Fire Giant, but they lose their solo laner. They just walk up and continue the DPS at the Leviathans and Cease. Good knock-up from Haddix, trying to find more. He's looking to close the gap, try to catch out and get the knock-up onto Hardcore. There's a second death for the carry on the Scarabs. The Leviathans take out 3, and they don't even care that they lost the FG. Sam maybe looking to make some sort of miracle play for his team. I don't know if this works out the way they want it to. It's going to be a back, though, from some of the Leviathans. They're going to defend. Meanwhile, the team pushing forward. They take out the mid-Phoenix for the Leviathans. The base race is not going to go super well for the Scarabs. Fire minions are going to knock down the Phoenix, but the Scarabs aren't there to defend. The Titan is taking all the damage in the world. The Leviathans on the back of this play, unless Sam can do something absolutely insane, are going to turn this one right back into it. Shards of Ice will seal the deal. And after 44 minutes, Leviathans win game number 1.
I love the idea from Sanford Soccer there because the odds of an actual base defense 2 versus 5 are just about 0. So in threatening the Phoenix, he forces individuals from the Leviathans to back and creates a better situation. A 2 versus 3, and much more likely for the Solar Scarabs. Unfortunately for the Scarabs, they had their back stopped a couple of times, so weren't quite able to make perfect use of that play. But that was the only winning line that Sanford Soccer had, was maybe they misplay and I do win a base race, or maybe I get some backs and now I can defend my base. So good to see that Sanford Soccer never lost sight of the actual win. but it's the Leviathans, man, with that miraculous team fight that completely crushed the Scarabs.
And a lot of it is the same thing that we had seen at the team fights before. Was, can we isolate Scary D and kill him? If yes, then let's go. We can move forward. Sometimes it just, unfortunately for the Scarabs, there falls shy. You may have to think maybe if you could have gotten a right lane just a teensy bit faster with Fire Minions, something could have happened there. Maybe we'd be having a different conversation right now. But the conversation we're having is the Leviathans up 1-0 after a 44-minute game number 1. We'll find out what they can do in game number 2 right after this.
trend of long games continues. This one, game one, closing in on about 45 minutes plus. And my goodness, it was back and forth. There are moments where the Solar Scarabs looked surefire to win, get stumped around the base of the Leviathans, and it's the Atlantis Leviathans taking the cake here in game number one. I do have a very important question, though, for everyone at home. Do you like being judged? You know what I mean? Like, do you like it when people judge you? If you said yes, you can get paid to do it at Worlds. Introducing the 9th annual cosplay contest, where we will judge your cosplays for a prize pool of $9,000. This is the good kind of judging. We only promote the good kind of judging around here. Head on over to smitegame.com/SWC for more details. This is the cosplay contest going on at Worlds live at the Esports Stadium in Arlington, Texas for a prize pool of $9,000. Now, I won't be judging and dealing out any of that money. Anyone dressed as Thor immediately wins my heart. So that's one little leg up you might have on the competition. Really excited to see what everyone brings to Worlds, and really excited to see what the Solar Scarabs and the Leviathans get done for us here in game number two. But before we get there, I got to break down game one. And Trelly, there's a lot to break down here.
Yeah.
Because early in the game, it's pretty closely knit, but the Leviathans really start to edge out. The Solar Scarabs felt like Yark was just destined to split push for eternity. Finally joins the team. And then from minute like 20 to 40, it was all Scarabs.
Yep.
They just could not end the game.
And that was sort of the issue, right? They couldn't quite break the base. They got the Phoenix down. They got hung up with EFG on that right side Phoenix for such a long time. Even the Fire Minions got the Titan down to, it looked like about 5,000 health, which is really easy to end if you can just close that gap and get to the Titan, but the Scarabs just could not. And I like what you said about Yark. It seemed like Yarkor realized early on in the game, hey, we're losing these fights. I'm going to split push. I'll be back at level 20. Like, just hold on until then. And once he arrived, it seemed like they were able to win those team fights pretty heavily, but the Leviathans with the defense is what was really able to take this game over. I was very impressed with how Shinto was able to stay alive in the back of these fights. You'll see one person you don't want living to the end of these engagements, these long, drawn-out fights, is the hell with this amount of sustain. And consistently, Shinto was able to stay alive during those fights, keep the team healed up, that sort of thing. And the Haddix Horus ult that I think really won the game. After that last EFG where the Solar Scarabs grabbed it and they tried to disengage to the skies, Haddix made a beautiful play to catch everyone out. And at that point, it was just GG's.
Yeah, that additional mobility was simply too much for the Scarabs. Now, we talked about options for the Scarabs. This was a big 1v1 towards the end of the game. Sam wins that every day of the week, but the timing from Haddix and Panatom on the gank in was just too strong. And then I believe this is the chase down that we were looking for at the end of the game that effectively ended it.
900, 1100, two abilities from
I wonder if, because you're looking at options for the Scarabs, now back-to-back sets, because remember, the Bolts had a really hard time ending their set yesterday, ending their game yesterday. Scarabs now run into a very similar issue. Remember, the Fire Minions did, like, just around half of the Titan's health at one point in this game. Is there any value, you think, in just walking into the Titan room at some point if you're the Solar Scarabs, or are you probably suffering a similar fate at that point?
I mean, that's probably my play, especially with Scary D. With the ultimate, you can tank up so much damage and distract while you just need like 2 members to blink in. But it's such a difficult situation. We've seen times like with the Titans and the Bolts where you all run in thinking the Titan's so low, then you get one shot. I guess that was probably on their minds. Like, let's play it slow. There's already a Phoenix down. If we get one more, then we open up the base, that sort of thing. And the Leviathans, they held out, and they played it perfectly. I mean, their defense was rock solid.
Yeah, I mean, Zatman really critical with some of those ults as well. Atlantis Leviathans find a way to keep their win streak alive for now. Can the Solar Scarabs remedy that in Game 2? Remains to be seen. As a reminder, if you're just now tuning in, Leviathans are first seed here on a 9-set win streak in Phase 3. The all-time SMITE record is 10 sets in a row. So Leviathans could tie that all-time record with a win against the Solar Scarabs here in Game 2 or in Game 3 if we end up getting there. The Solar Scarabs, on the other hand, still all smiles in the team booth. Surprising considering how Game 2 ended, but realizing that the Leviathans, one of the best teams in the league, it's hard to take them down. And you were a couple moments away from doing so. One wrong team fight away from taking a 1-0 set lead. Bans largely unchanged. Now we'll change up a bit, unless my memory is fleeting here. Cupid ends up getting banned away by the Leviathans, leaves the CERN open. Solar Scarabs, I wonder if they're thinking, hey, that game went well enough. We could run it back and maybe fare a bit better. Could be another double ADC comp.
Yeah, so far, this is just mirrored of what we saw in game number 1. We'll have to see if anything changes. If this isn't an Ishtar, then maybe something will change. But so far, I imagine both teams, since they both had opportunities to win that game, aren't going to be too upset about going for the run back. The Solar Scarabs, if following suit, got to be looking for that Cthulhu here as well as the Atlas.
The weight of the world.
You know, looks
Cthulhu.
like, yeah, looks like so far that is what they're rolling with. Almost always, though, if we see the top 6 be the same, that second wave of bans is always what gets us.
Usually it's a bit of adaptation. No, it's
Oh,
a Hades
baby.
this time. At a 62% win rate. A slight smile out of Hurry Wind as well. Now, suppose could be a mid lane Hades. Typically ends up over in the solo lane. And the Susanoo, remember, banned out in game 1. Not banned out here in game number 2. And Panatom Susanoo is terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
If you're CERN, if you're any of the carries of the Solar Scarabs, you're looking later on in this game, and you got to try to position yourself away from the Susanoo because it is torn teams apart.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all at the 2 change-ups we're seeing. I think Scary D was probably tired of diving the backline. He probably had 7 different tries at diving that backline and then getting absolutely shredded through by the Ishtar. It was like, hey, I'm not doing that again. Like Hades, I won't live as long, but I will do more damage, and that's kind of what I'm looking for, as well as the Leviathans. I think Panatom was like, yeah, Najah is fun and all, but I miss one-shotting people and actually just destroying the backline, so I, too, am going to make the switch up here. I can see why. I can see the adaptations both of these teams made, and now we're going to that second wave of bans. It looks like the Scarabs are going to take away that Cthulhu just in case Haddix wants to play it, and the Poseidon. So the Horus is still open if that's something that Haddix wants to go back to, but up against Hades, doesn't have the greatest lane matchup. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw another switch up there for the solo lane of the Leviathans, and still, that Xing Chen is jumping out at me.
Remember, the Leviathans took away this Pele last time, but now it's the Thor that's going to get dropped away from Sanford Soccer.
I will vanquish all
Unlucky.
evil
We've
from
seen
this
double
world.
raw hovers
Yeah,
in the
what's the
last 2
deal?
days. Now, I've been wanting it. I want to see a big searing pain, but no, it'll end up being Yu Huang, which again has been a strong pick, not only for Shinto, but really for the rest of the league. The dueling dragons later on in the game. Just so potent. Sealed the deal against the Titans last time the Leviathans played the Titans. Yu Huang went 6-1-8 for Shinto. And Shinto's been on an absolute tear alongside Panatom. 8-3-10 in the last game for Shinto, as we mentioned. 6-0-3 in game 3 against the Jade Dragons. Been some really, really nice performances from the Leviathans who have diversified their win conditions. Now remember where the Scarabs looked really competitive in the last set that we saw this team play. It was just this. It was Kukul Khan for Baronic out of the mid lane. Ended up going 2-0 against the Titans in a game 2 win.
Wow.
They'll pair it with the Bastet.
I really like the Hun Bats. I just think, the Hun Bats Hades combo is so nice, but it looks like the Solar Scarabs wanting a little bit more, I suppose, easy single target CC as opposed to that Hun Bat. So the Bastet is going to be the call, and it looks like the Leviathans are going to grab Haddix or the Kamazots over in that solo lane. And that's going to bring a certain level of sustain and safety that you kind of need up against the Hades in lane. So smart call, I believe, here for the Leviathans, but I'm not seeing the setup for the Cuckoo ult. I mean, it does exist. If your Hunters of Bast are landing, of course, and if Hurrywind is able to consistently hit these grabs like he was in game number 1, then Bronick should have an easy time, but it's so difficult to hit a Susanoo with that Spear of the 9 Winds. I mean, as long as he has his teleport, he can just hold on to it. He can dive in, go for the 100-0, and juke at the last second if he needs to. So Baronic is going to have to play real far back on this Cuckoo if he wants to try and survive these team fights, and a Phantom Shell probably necessary.
Yeah, I'm thinking about Susanoo teleporting onto a Cuckoo and kind of just having a day.
Yep.
It's gonna be positional heavy for the Solar Scarabs team. Atlantis Leviathans, then, maybe you start to, jungle-wise, you're always going to favor Panatom on Susanoo to some extent. Ishtar plus Ymir, very, very strong. I'm glad you bring up Phantom Shell, because later on in that game, so many of the walls from Rongyu, just disruptive enough. Cut out Scary D so many times it felt like on that Cthulhu, kept the game a bit more in balance, where the Scarabs fighting in 4v4s instead of 5v4s, as they would have preferred. Does Hades remedy a bit of that in your mind, a bit more mobility potentially on the Hades, or do you think could suffer a similar fate to the catch-out potential that we saw in Game 1?
I mean, I can see, I think Scary D was tired of going to the back line, hitting all this CC and not getting those kills, so he's decided, you know what, I'm just going to do as much damage as possible. Like, Hades can have that 100-0 potential.
Right.
Isn't going to live as long, but if everyone's dead, it doesn't matter. That's probably the idea here from the Solar Scarabs. Blink to the back line. Scary D has really evolved as a Hades player. Like, I think when he first started, when it first came into the meta, was sort of blinking in and dying. Now he's really able to get those 100-0s and those massive ultimates that will also set up for Baronic and Scary D, and of course Yarkor on his pick as well. So I think that's what they're looking for. That's the idea, and if they can execute like they did for 20 minutes of game number 1, this will be looking pretty good for them.
Yeah, buckle up. We're destined for another 45 or so minute game. It's so interesting because so many of the games have been going like 30-plus minutes, but they've been so back and forth,
Yep.
and so many of these games getting delayed around the Phoenix line. Can the Solar Scarabs bounce back, bring us to a Game 3, or does the Leviathans' win streak continue? We'll go over to Gormizer and Mifflin for game number 2.
That's going to be a fun one to find out as well. If you watched game number 1, Mifflin, I'd be inclined to say it's very hard to tell that this is a first seed versus last seed matchup in comparison to what we've seen in the past. Scarabs held on as long as they could, still fell short 44 minutes in the last game. We'll see what they can do here in game number 2. As the desk mentioned, the bounce back potential is always going to be there. Scary D makes a shift. Sam makes a shift. And Baronic makes a much more massive one. This is a god, this Kukulkan, that we have seen Baronic have some stellar performances on. Whether the team around him was doing stellar, it did not matter as much. He was always able to do so. How do you think it's going to fare this time around?
Well, I think Kukulkan's going to be just fine, like, just standing in mid, throwing tornadoes at wave. Whether or not he's going to be able to survive the dive of Panatom, I mean, probably not, you know? Susano's just got such good gap close, great displacement, and phenomenal damage output against a god that in mid now has no inherent CC immunity and does not have the capacity to pick up any damage immunity either. So, will it survive the early portions of the game? Probably. Will it survive once Panatom's got like 3-4 items? Probably not. But as so long as, if this game hits 25 or 30 minutes and Baronic throws out an ultimate and it hits 1 or 2 people, that's it. You've done it. Like you that's your contribution to the team fight, and it's enough.
Your margins of success. I guess it's a low bar, but it's a high bar at the same time.
It's a hard
right?
to hit ability.
It's an ability that wide, long, slow. So something that Baronic is going to need to be able to connect it onto 2 people. I mean, jungle corridors feel nice for that, but still, it's a tall order sometimes. I'm interested to watch how that one shakes out. Same with the Bastet. Because you go back, what, 4 months? And I understand it, because it's Scream playing on the Scarabs, playing Bastet, and that makes sense. Instead, Sam playing it, which still makes sense. We've seen Sam play it often. But will it do well? It's kind of the big question, especially with all of the assassins on the board in general. 2 there for the Leviathans. Haddix playing the Kamazots. Maybe having to deal a little bit with this Hades, who we've still been seeing a lot of. He hasn't been as dominant as maybe the beginning of Phase 3, but Hades is still an easy go-to god for a lot of these solo laners.
Yeah, I think Hades was having that massive just windfall of success early on because the matchup was something that was a bit unexplored at the top level of play. It's just been a long time since we'd seen him really played in the SPL consistently, so you got that X factor of, hey, you don't know what I'm going to do to you. But now that people have figured it out, they're just like, oh, Hades is really good, but we know what's coming.
Well, now he's looking really good.
What
Good leap from Haddix. What a pull from Panatom to stop the DPS and kill First Blood in its tracks. Scarabs remain with a goose egg. Same for the Leviathans. Haddix gets his blue buff stolen away, but he keeps his life, which seems like a fair price.
Yeah, Haddix is like, thanks, Panatom. You made sure my lane wasn't ruined for the next 30 minutes. Phenomenal pull, man. Scary D was like a quarter-inch away from devouring his soul, like quite literally. So great play from the jungler. Panatom getting involved very early on, making sure that nothing comes of it. The Solar Scarabs, though, do at least find the TKO. So important there that they at least strip some of the farm from Haddix as Hurrywin attempts a purple buff invade. Might be costly though with Panatom nearby.
Wrong U gets the slow down. There's a root as well from Zap. Blink forward from
We
Panatom.
want Yark.
And they're going for 2 here if they can find him. Hurry seems to be the consolation prize, but a prize nonetheless. First blood, Wrong U picks that one up for the Leviathans. And it's a good, successful gank from Panatom.
Man, Panatom is so smart on this Susano play right there. He throws the third ability on a Yarkor and says, if you dash, I will murder you. If you don't dash, you live, but Hurrywin's gonna die. Yarkor, equally intelligent, says, well, I care way more about me, the ADC, than I do about my support, so I will be holding on to that cooldown and make sure that there is not teleport potential for Panatom. Panatom realizes I could teleport at him, but it's just not gonna do a whole lot for me. So instead shifts targets over to Hurrywin. Just really intelligent play between two players, but it's the Leviathans who went out in macro, just had the numbers advantage, and Hurrywin steps a little too far forward, makes it an easy pick.
And unfortunately for the Scarabs, they had aggression in this lane. They were controlling duo for a majority of that at the tower line of the Leviathans. I believe Zap and Wrong U are both around that half, if not lower mark for their health bars. Now the first blood, admittedly going on Wrong U, feels like it's stabilized a little bit. Although with Hardcore's damage, might still be slightly in their favor, especially with Hurrywin playing the way he is. Good pulls, good control. Both around the same power spikes, level 5 for the carries. Soon to be there for the supports. Meanwhile, you get an assist over there for Panatom. We were talking about experience, because last time it was this, right? You're looking at a mostly even field, small lead there for Scary D, and that's maybe the only real big difference maker. And then out of light, it feels like nowhere. The Leviathans just skyrocketed in terms of experience and what they were able to pick up to about that 3K. You got 2 levels in mid, things like that. And that can be utterly devastating, especially if the Scarabs, you look at where they were in those moments for game number 1. And a lot of it was they had gold leads, they had maybe not fight leads, but map leads. They were playing the macro a little bit better, yet it just, for some reason, wasn't culminating in the experience lead because they had too many invades that were getting taken away from them. The red buff, purple buff, things like that. Can Yu Huang, I guess, match up with a Susano as well as the Hell did last time around to get maybe as aggressive, or is it going to take a little longer?
I mean, Yu Huang's always going to have the potential to at least displace enemies, right? The second you have dueling dragons, you can create space or peel for yourself or have CC immunity or potentially what will operate similarly to a Sobek pluck for your jungler. I think that Yu Huang doesn't exactly have the exact same amount of explosive damage.
Oh my god.
I could be wrong, though.
Well, they're trying for a little bit more. There's the ult from Baronic, but no, it's too late. And the last tower shot's not even there. Panatom has to play carefully. Too soon
Okay,
and
they
too
got him.
low. Finally, someone's going to be able to turn that around. Sam, credit to kill off Panatom, but they take out Baronic. And they eat a lot from him as well. No beads, no ult, no life.
Man, Shinto is just different. I was going to say not the same level of explosive damage, and I suppose kind of true. If that were Hell, you're just like pulse, repulse, and that's like, what, 80% of someone's HP bar immediately at this level, especially the Book of Thoth build, but just the solo potential. Baronic caught out, dropped too low, Panatom rotates through, back steps the Spirit of the Nine Winds, then finishes off his target, realizing just how much time he had allowed in that tower. Fortunately for the Solar Scarabs, San Francisco just nearby enough to leap and blink forward to catch out Panatom, but the Levi's playing with a certain amount of confidence right now, and it is instilling confidence in me and their ability to kind of start controlling the mid-game, especially once this Pyromancer starts to spawn up. I think that's generally where we're going to see the Leviathans put a good deal of their pressure, play around this Camazotz, but yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good example of what that combo between Yu Huang and Susano is going to look like.
Well, now they're looking for a combo somewhere over here on right. Scary D after the dash. Frozen good hunches the Bass from Sam, but it's only going to pull Haddix. Haddix goes into the ult. The damage is bouncing back and forth. Sam gets a kill instead, turning it around onto Wrong U. The aggression from the Leviathans, punished in its tracks.
Yeah, just a wishful attempt at Scary D's life there. Pillars of Agony gives you a lot of damage mitigation. You're not exactly at the point in your builds as Susano, as this Camazotz, where you could just damage through it. You're still waiting on Transcendent stacks. You're still waiting on that second item from Panatom. But still, It's the Leviathans keeping up their pressure. Blue buff invade successful. Scary D just not going to have as much mana to operate with, and having picked up Blink means he won't be able to just teleport back to lane. That's nice for Haddix. Close up a little bit of that experience gap.
Haddix is looking to close up even more. Diving under the tower. Good pull from Panatom. And with the ult, that's all you need to shut down Scary D. But 2 on right means there's a little bit of wiggle room over there on left. Scarabs go in and get the Gold Fury, courtesy of Baronic. Zapman tries to show face, but is just a little too late. Spirit of the Nine wins, secures that one, so you lose your solo laner. You get the Gold Fury.
Yeah, Scary D didn't need to die there, by the way. Once your jump's down, just like stand in the back of your tower, you know? Wait for that one to come back up. Don't allow Haddix to blink on you or Panatom to pull you, but that's exactly how that one pans out. Zapman, no ultimate. Could be in some trouble.
Has a little bit of help. Good beads from Hardcore. The transformation
body blocks.
actually creates a little bit of wiggle room. Wrong you eats the shots necessary. Zap has to be careful of the back. Oof. Gonna be there just in time. I saw a rotation from Baronic. Starting to sweat for him. Zapman uses his beads. I can't believe this, but he walks out alive.
I think the Leviathans win that trade as well, because Yarkor was forced to beads to try and finish off the kill. And Rongyu says, no, sit, and just keeps them there. Tough stuff, man. The Solar Scarab's so close to finding that pick. And a pick on a Zapman would have gone a massive way. Put Yarkor in the lead with this crit-style build. It's so difficult when both hunters are itemizing towards crit to find that comeback. When one's just got a higher percentage chance to like do double damage against you, it's going to be much, much better. But Rongyu simply just in the right place at the right time and just excellent mechanical mastery there to perfectly stop the rotation forward from Yarkor. Just was not able to find those autos.
Masterful work. Sometimes, and you know, it's not often. I feel like you get to highlight even moments like that, although we've seen some really cool body blocks.
Dude,
Let's see if Zapman can get out of here. Is going to use the ult this time around to make sure that he can stay alive, but you got to be a little more careful than that to stay alive. Good shots and a good ult from Hurry. Lock him down even under the tower. Zap tries to fight, gets punished for it.
Yeah, I mean, that is like impossible odds. Zapman is not killing Hurrywind in 100 years. Maybe he's trying to set up for a rotation, but a rotation wasn't coming. So maybe next time just play a little bit safer. I suppose just not expecting Yarkor to land like every single auto attack at max range in your tower, but
Which is just a miscalculation on him.
That's Yarkor, by the way. It's called the Shark for a reason. Maybe trust him next time.
If there's anything you can trust, that's Hardcore hitting autos. I mean, he was 6-0-7 for a large duration of the last
Psychotic
game.
how good he is at Smite.
And yeah, like the off roll, by the way, like this isn't even the one that he signed up for the league in. Insane. For the Scarabs, and maybe a little insane there for Zapman. Starts with Shadow Steel, same match there for Hardcore. It's going to be a Pyromancer pull now for the Leviathans, trying to make up some of the lost gold. Not a big difference between these two teams. They're going to try to hold on to it. Leviathans barely secure that one, but now they're going to look for a little more. Tornado's good from Baronic, but not good enough. Scary D taken down. Kamazot's able to disengage, get out of there. So it's a Pyro. It's a kill for the Leviathans. Nothing to be found on the other side.
Sanford Soccer, if there is something to be found, he will find it. He's going deep. A catch on a Rongyu could be nice. Wall separates the fight, but that's just his life.
Yeah, Tornado, the ult, it's a lose-lose scenario. Nowhere to walk, nowhere safe. So you're going to lose support for solo. Pyromancer, again, towards the Leviathans. Maybe making that slightly more favorable. Mifflin, we've got a 700 gold game. That's separating them 12 minutes in. If it's back and forth like it was before, I anticipate this not mattering too much. It's the 1800, now 1600 experience. A lot of that sitting in mid. That is going to make the big difference. Level 14 now for Shinto over Baronic's 12. And yet still Shinto, whatever he's been doing, has not gone back to base to get that second relic yet.
Yeah, it doesn't need it. My man's farming up. There's gold on the map. I'm not going back to base. I need HP. I need money. Haddix needs help.
And
that's
he's
3.
Not going to get it.
No.
If I can call that, he's just not going to have any. It's death. And it doesn't go much further than that. It's just a 3v1, and he doesn't have ult. No way does Baronic get stopped here in mid. A lot of damage from Panatom. Ult is going to be good, but not the lockdown necessary. Baronic lives With the skin of his teeth, barely able to escape that one. Tier 1 tower warding off, Herwin warding off maybe a little bit more than Baronic was on his own.
Man, Hurrywin chunked Pan. Oh, he's got Divine Ruin in second slot. Yeah, okay, this Atlas does pretty decent damage. Chasing out solo, I'm not so certain that's something you want to be caught doing, though, Hurry. Divine Ruin in second slot sacrifices a whole lot of survivability. Panatom, with the help of Shinto, would have some turn and burn potential, but Shinto back to base and Panatom back to speed. With Hurrywin acting as a UAV for his team, realizes the Leviathans aren't nearby. Maybe we just grab the Gold Fury?
Well, might be isolated now. Good wall. And a little bit of lockdown follow-up from Sam is solid, though. Zap, half health. No beats to work with. There's the secure from the Scarabs.
Ooh.
They're going to get that Fury. Almost pick up Panatom on the tail end as well. Force the beads with a Pillar of Agony. Now it's Sam, Scary versus Haddix. They force the Camazotz to fall back. And with a 0-for-0 trade in terms of kills, Scarabs find themselves up because of the Fury.
Man, you know what? I was questioning the decision from Hurrywin to just, like, lackadaisically meander through the jungle of the Leviathans.
Yeah, he was on a stroll.
He was. But he got so much information from positioning alone that it opened the door to that play. A wandering ward for the Solar Scarabs. Nets them the Gold Fury. Leviathans nowhere in range to follow up, especially with Shinto back to base. Shinto did not go back to base for fun, though. He was going for business and picks up Staff of Mirrodin in its entirety. All of a sudden, this Yuhong, a massive threat. That Dueling Dragon combo we saw in Baronic to set up for a gank for Panatom earlier in this game. Panatom is no longer required.
That's going to be easy setup, much like that. Pull in burst there, half health. Panatom maybe required for this one. Fighting under the tornado. The shell is good for Baronic. Keeps the dragon alive for now. There's going to be a polymorph onto 2. Panatom taken down, punished for the aggression. And now a Zephyr from Baronic. He steps forward with his team, and it helps them get a double kill for Hardcore 2. Pick up clean for the Scarabs. It only costs a couple of relics.
Man, beads and shell perfectly timed for Baronic, I believe. Maybe even a double shell there. Hurrywinds goes down as well. Narrowly survives and picks up 2, as you said. But what are you going to do on the map with it? Baronic too weak to stick around. He's your primary DPS on tower in that mid 3v3, so going to go ahead and let that one fizzle. The Solar Scarabs, I think they just got to contend, or be content rather, with the picks. And why wouldn't you be when the gold's starting to look as good as it is? This is, what, best case situation for the Solar Scarabs so far in this set? Except for that one turnaround play at Fire.
That one, yeah, that was a beautiful play for him there in game number 1. 2,000 gold, though. Nothing to scoff at here. 15 minutes, let's call it 16 minutes in. You're starting to see some finalized items, and you can see where it's manifesting. Ignore mid, because for some reason, well, not for some reason. We know. Look at where Shinto or where Panatom is compared to Sam versus where Shinto is compared to Baronic. We know where the farm's coming from, and while he's able to keep up in the tier 3s. But you're seeing those big power spikes for the Scarabs. About a tier 1 ahead for a second there. They had their tier 3s over tier 2s of the Leviathans. Sets up really nice for a Pyromancer here. Once again, Hurwind kind of acting as the forward-facing ward. The Leviathans don't seem like they want to fight this one. Baronic has ult, could secure it instead. No, it's a turn towards mid. 2 Leviathans left alone. Shinto trying to stay alive, but his health bar is getting burned pretty quickly. It's a dive, it's an ult, It's a kill for Baronic. Now Wrong Yu, the second on the chopping block. Panatom comes in just to be the cherry on top, and Haddix has his ult. The Bat Out of Hell might have to be used to stay alive here because it does not seem like the Scarabs want to slow their roll. They'll let him out. They're going to take the tier 1. They're going to go for the Pyro. Might just go for Fire with 3 down.
Yeah, 3 down for so long, and Yarkor, as healthy as he is, Hurrywin as well. Tank this one up. Early Fire Giant for the Solar Scarabs, and a decision that it was so clean. I think the Levi's were making the active decision of, all right, look, Solar Scarabs pull Pyro. We're not stopping this one. Let's just go push up some waves. And the Scarabs say, oh, you thought we wanted objectives? We're the Solar Scarabs. We want some kills. Reset the Pyro, run down mid, and find easy picks. Still net you both neutral objectives on the right-hand side afterward as well. Solar Scarabs, I don't know what's going on, who their decision maker is, who the shot caller is, but as of recent, they have been on point. This is a different looking squad.
I mean, you're talking about the 8th seed right now, leading the game 5,000 gold. Let's call it 5.5. Well, it might be 5K after Zapman dies in the jungle.
He's trolling. That's troll.
Yeah, I don't know what he's going for there.
Red buff.
Okay, I don't know why he's going for it. Is maybe
tell
the
ya.
better way to word it. And so we're talking about the 8th seed leading the game against your 1st seed here. And Mifflin starting to feel like maybe, you know, despite the fact that they didn't make any of the changes themselves, Scarabs are looking pretty solid. All things considered, the way things have been for the last, what, 4 months for them.
Yeah, making adaptations that they didn't necessarily choose for themselves,
Improvise,
but
adapt, and
yeah.
overcome.
thrive, conquer. They're doing it all right now. So are Scarabs now in a position to start closing out some of these tier 2 towers. Scary D no Polynomicon just yet, so he's not a massive threat to structures on his own, which is why we see Sanford Soccer make the rotation and try and match up with him. Same can't be said of Baronic on the other side. Poly in 3rd slot, this Kukulkan getting a whole lot of value from the Book of Thoth. I'm thinking that's essentially just an extra Zephyr in his kit, that auto attack afterwards. Solar Scarabs, tier 2 on left, that belongs to them. Gold Fury afterward, that goes to them as well. Gold lead swiftly follows. Back to base, finished up some more of these power spikes. Got plenty of time, 2 entire minutes to play with this Fire Giant. Group up, start pushing some more tier 2s. The Leviathans need to play wary here. They've got the ability to slow down some of these sieges. Wrong you could just toss up a wall, all of a sudden you gotta wait 6 seconds before you're allowed to continue DPS.
Yeah.
Poked, ranged poke from Shinto as well, very good. Phoenix Fire has some of the best range from a mage ability in the game. Dueling Dragons if anybody steps too far out of line. Levi's have fight back, but they need to be as 5 to fight back, and if Panatom dies, that dream dies with him. Cost of his blink, though, does at least survive.
Yeah, that's just going to be the cost you have to pay in order to, like you said, survive this time, maybe keep the game going for your team. Tier 2 on right seems like it's going to be a pretty easy pickup for the Scarabs. Minute 20 left on the power play. Not a lot of contest here from the Leviathans when it comes down to that tier.
What is with Zap, man?
Where is, oh yeah, he's
I'm
obsessed with that
getting this
red.
red. This red is my red. There are many like it, but this one is mine.
He's even 2 levels up, so it's not like a farm thing. I guess in this case, maybe it was.
He's not getting his red farm. Shinto and Panatom are on it.
Yeah, he's got to find it somewhere, right? And when Shinto is Kirby vacuuming everything on the map in terms of experience, you got to figure out some way into this one. Greater Scorpion stolen away, though, by the Scarabs. You got a few minutes to relax if you're here. 40 seconds left. Doesn't feel like they're in a position to get super aggressive. Backs to the base, spin some of the gold. Set up for Fire Giant, Pyro. Maybe that Fury as well when it respawns after a while.
Yeah, Scary's sitting on a major power spike, likely going to be the Polynomicon in that slot. So all of a sudden, we'll have one-shot potential, a leap into fear, auto attack combo, likely just straight up murders Panatom. So all of a sudden, Scary D's job has changed a bit in these engagements. Allow Hurrywin to act as primary initiator, and I think Scary rather, could just be goaltender. Hey, Panatom, you want to kill Baronic? You for sure could if you saw him, but good luck getting through me type beat. Solar Scarab's about a minute away from pulling the Fire Giant once more. Leviathans have a difficult decision ahead of them. Do you want to defend in neutral territory, where your Ymir finds a little bit more value, where Panatom's going to have an easier time flanking, but you haven't got the unofficial 6-man that is a Phoenix, or do you just allow the Solar Scarabs to take a Fire Giant? It is still incredibly early in the game, easy to lose track of time considering we've already watched an entire Fire Siege, but we are only 21 minutes in. So it's not as if there's any threat of this being enhanced. Leviathan's composition pretty decent on defense, but still enough gold on map, I think, with Pyromancer spawning and Gold Fury very shortly as well. I think the Leviathans are in a position where they are going to have to step up to this fire. Keep your eyes on Panatom. He's probably just the straight-up win condition for the team fight. If he can get onto Baronic, if he can catch out Yarkor, find some value in that regard, the team fight's going to look a lot better. It's really only him that can generate that level of threat. Haddox goes a more tanky build, so this Camazotz has some damage, but not enough that Yarkor is worried about a 1v1, or even Baronic, for that matter. I think Zapman's main priority is just deal damage into the guy in front of him, which is likely going to be Hurry. It's going to be difficult for the Levi's.
Trying to find their way out of this engagement now. Pyromancer spawned up. Scarabs are going to pull it this time around. Leviathans only have 3 right here. Panatom and Shinto in mid lane right now. It's a Fire Giant startup. 23 minutes in now to get the second one for the Scarabs if they so please. Baronic's ult being available makes that a much easier task than it would be otherwise. Leviathan's not a lot that they can do to contend against the Spirit of the Nine Winds. Fire Giant's being held at like 3/4 HP. The Scarabs are trying to find a big, well, potentially just bait for the Leviathans. Pull them in. 8,000 gold down for the #1 seed in the SPL right now. It's a lot to try and fight into around this FG. Scary D, once again, leading the way for his team. They're burning this one down. There's going to be the secure from Baronic. 5 members with the FG. Good wall from Wrong U. Helps delay some aggression, but there's Sam. There's the damage. And there's the kill for the jungler. 4-0-7 right now for Sam for Soccer.
Scarabs going to go collect the wave on right. Makes me think this is going to be a Phoenix siege on the right lane. 30 seconds till Wrong U's back and available. Should be about 15 seconds by the time the Solar Scarabs actually walk into the Phoenix. Assuming they wait for wave. If they just go in now, a little bit more time to play with. Leviathans, without Ymir, can't do a whole lot to slow this one down. They've not really got the initiator. They haven't got any CC lockdown, barring Shinto. Just finding a phenomenal dueling dragons. Scarabs have got all the momentum from here. I'd like to see them 5-stack, but Sam for Soccer lines up against Panatom. He's got good poke, but Panatom's so mobile. Best of luck actually applying it. Right side Phoenix, we're not going for that one. Instead, with Wrong U back and alive, grab that tier 2. Now where are you headed? Gold Fury afterward? The Solar Scarabs taking a very slow approach. No panic enders here. They're going to keep it methodical.
That's a good way to look. We saw last time, and you had mentioned it earlier, you're looking at Leviathan's defense. They've got a pretty solid one. The Ymir wall put in a ton of work in game #1. I have to imagine that's where Wrong U's mind is at this time around. Struggling right now, though. 2 levels down compared to where Hurry is. Full tier 3, essentially. Maybe call it a tier 2 with the way that the build has been shaken out for Heroind here. But it's a comfortable lead for the frontliners there on the Scarabs. Plus where their carries are at, ignoring everything else. I mean, they are running this show currently. It's 12-4, Mifflin, 25 minutes in. I mean, the Scarabs have just been playing pretty much everything better than the Leviathans so far this game. And so I've got to ask, when you're looking at the defense, is this where the Leviathans try to turn it around, or are we starting to look at game #3?
Yeah, I much prefer those neutral territory fights. If the game were like 5,000 separated or anywhere closer than what it is currently, 11,000 favoring the Solar Scarabs, you still do like the odds of Panatom just frontline, dropping Typhoon and saying, hey, you can't walk through this.
Yeah.
But dropping Typhoon on a front line that is as tanky as Scary D, as Hurrywin now, it's not going to be nearly as valuable. And it's going to be much more difficult for Panatom to actually get onto Baronic in that back line. Good poke in a Scary D might just buy you some time. But with a wave there, he'll resustain it pretty quickly. I wonder how the Solar Scarabs elect to approach this one. Seems to be a 4-1 split. Sam for Soccer acting as solo agent. This is the only way Panatom's going to find his 1v1 is if Sam for Soccer gives it up to him.
Well, Hurry walks forward. There's the wall from Wrong U to prevent some DPS on the Phoenix. And it seems to be preventing DPS from the Scarabs in general. Hurry takes a lot of poke, not a lot to show back for the team. They have a Trebuchet now, though. That's going to help get some poke onto that Phoenix. There's going to be a wall. Keep Baronic in trouble, but it's going to be a polymorph and a grab from the other side. They burn down Wrong U like it's nothing. Haddix goes in, barely gets into the bat out of hell, but there's Panatom. Good ult. Gets 1, gets 2, and is able to help salvage this fight. It's 2 for 2 so far. Zap low, Shinto low. They need a little help from the Phoenix to make this work out. The Phoenix isn't putting in overtime for this one. Instead, it's going to be the Scarabs marching forward, slowly whittling it down. Should be able to get it with Scary D, with Sam, and the Trebuchet. They're going to take the left side bird. And a 3v2, especially with Haddix, the health bar he's at. Not fully confident in their ability. Shinto hanging around the corner as well. There's going to be the Phoenix Fire. A little bit of damage.
Goodness.
Not a lot of help, though. Helps root
Good
down.
slow.
Chasing him. Haddix does not have a lot to work with. Phoenix Fire again from Shinto. And he's walking forward now. Roots Sam, but no follow-up. Keeps the Scarabs out of the base. What a wild engagement again. Scrappy from both sides, but the Phoenix goes down on the side of the Leviathans.
Yeah, gotta shout out Panatom getting into that back line and shutting down both carries from the Solar Scarabs, Baronic and Yarkor. I mean, you can't ask for much more from your jungler, especially considering the lack of farm he was handed throughout this game. Had to earn every single bit of it, fighting not only the Solar Scarabs for his own jungle camps, but also Shinto at times as well. Finally, starting to get some of that itemization that he needs. Once that Magi's is up, Panatom would have a much easier time, but then it's the Solar Scarabs who come out ahead, having stripped away that left side Phoenix in sync timer with the Fire Giant. 3 seconds of that one's back, and Minion Wave pushed up already. Levi's in a very poor position here. Maybe you go for a steal attempt. I don't think you actually take the team fight anymore. Not in neutral territory, not with Zapman on the left-hand side. So who's your best steal? Probably Panatom again. Just get him close enough for a Typhoon. Panatom's not going to risk that, though. He's on the opposite side. Maybe you just got to let the Scarabs have this one.
29 minutes in. It's where it gets really awkward. If they go for the Fire Giant, like right now, probably let them have it. If they go for it in a minute,
in a whole minute?
Becomes,
Yeah, get up
minute.
there.
That's going to be, that one's going to be a little heftier. They're going to start burning it down 29 minutes in. EFG, 50 seconds from being here. Doesn't seem like the Scarabs care too much about that. So the Leviathans don't mind letting this one go. Backdoor protection still going to be enabled for them. And it is going to be a conversation of itemization, relics, things like that. Defense, once again, looks solid for the Leviathans, but how often are you going to bet on Panatom killing the two primary targets for the Scarabs
Pretty
around
often,
the Phoenix?
honestly.
Really?
Panatom, with his performance recently,
Good point.
on Susano, he might just do it now.
Yeah, he's looking for Sam. Forces a
Sam's
blink.
scared, bro. Oh my God.
Impressive. Just the aura Panatom gives off while he's looking to hunt. Unfortunately, maybe worse off in the trade. Uses the blink first, but the upgrade there for Sam means he has a lower cooldown. I'm going to keep my eyes on the Susano because he was the savior last time around. You had mentioned it now that he's finished this Magi's. Feels like he can maybe be even more active up against the Scarabs.
Yeah, best of luck finding those opportunities, though. How often am I going to ask Panatom to kill both carries without blink? Just about never. Good luck getting into that back line. Maybe, if it's split up, though, you'll have some opportunities. 2 on left, Scary D and Sam for Soccer. The rest of them in mid, Yarkor, Baronic, Hurrywin, trying to just jockey for positioning. Wrong U's got a whole lot of time on that wall, though. Won't make it easy to poke the Phoenix.
Oh, Sam gets pulled in. Panatom looks for him, deletes the jungler for the Scarabs. Finds exactly what he needs, does lose his bubble. Maintains everything else. Haddix is not having a good game, man, up against this Hades. Scary D pushes Haddix right back to base. Keeps him locked down on that Camazotz. Once again, we see a good defense rooted here for the Leviathans. Panatom's able to clear up the left-hand wave. That left side Phoenix is about to respawn. They're going to have to deal with 2 more fire waves. And that's going to be it for it. So the Scarabs have to fall back. This power play, 2 minutes left to work with. And they can't knock on any of the Phoenix's doors.
No, in fact, there's more Phoenixes to deal with now than there were previously. Left side has respawns. Panatom does a lot for his team, but this time with the assistance of Haddix. Great stuff, man. Sanford Soccer has got to be a little bit more wary with those leaps. The leap back, so easy for Panatom to predict. You go exactly where you came from. So easy to grab that Bastet on the rebound. And now the Leviathans, I'm getting deja vu, legitimately, where it just feels like the Solar Scarabs just haven't been able to break the base, just haven't been able to secure these kills. Leviathans slow down the game. Now we're in a position where Fire Giant defense actually feasible for the Leviathans as well. Itemization has hit critical mass for your carries just about. Haddix finishing up a heavy mace. Zapman worried about his starter, but otherwise Panatom, Shinto, both full build. Maybe some picks here. It's the Solar Scarabs that have chose this fight. Zapman dropped low.
Yeah, immediately forced out of here. Shell's good, but is it good enough? Scary D walks forward, cuts him off, and then a one-shot from Baronic gets rid of Panatom like it's nothing. 2
GG.
from the Leviathans, just gone. And now the Scarabs marching forward. Fire Giant for 40 seconds. They're going to go for the mid-Phoenix. It is a 3v5 for the Leviathans to try and make this work. Shinto trying to work miracles, but the miracles just aren't coming today. They're going to march on in, and the Scarabs are going to push us to game number 3.
Man, we called it earlier, Gore. You might not have the most explosive performance on Kukulkan for the first 32 minutes and 40 seconds of a game. But one ultimate in the late, if you can remove a priority target, be it 1 or 2, you're going to have your impact known. If Baronic doesn't connect that ultimate, we're talking about the next Fire Giant. We're talking about a dance. We're talking about this, that, or the other. Instead, he killed the most important member of the Leviathans, Panatom.
And a one-hit.
Was doing everything. He was finding the picks. He was separating the back line. He was dealing with the carries. And then he was pushing up daisies once Baronic locked eyes on him.
Well played by the Scarabs. Look, you get ahead, you cultivate a lead that gets you into that kind of position. The way they play around the objectives early on. And like you said, starting to get deja vu. The Leviathans kind of dig their heels in, push back as best they can. You can't really push back against getting one-shotted by Kukulkan. Well played by him. If the Scarabs have anything going, despite all the changes that have happened to the team, it might not look the same, but they still have that Game 3 passive activated. The question is whether or not they can topple it. I mean, they are now a game away, potentially, from not only ending a 9-set win streak for the Leviathans, but doing exactly what we were saying and keeping themselves in this conversation for the Phase 3 playoffs. We'll see if they can do it right after this.
no mistakes from the Solar Scarabs here in game number 2, as they were able to close out the Leviathans and send us to a game number 3. This is now back-to-back games where the Solar Scarabs are in control through the majority of the game. Very well could have been a 2-0 for the Scarabs if they had figured out their siege in game number 1. But now they're able to capitalize. They're able to grab the win in game 2, send us on to a game number 3. Now, Trelly, how do we get there? Because the path feels similar.
Yep.
Where it's the Scarabs getting off to a good early start. Really later on, late early game, early mid-game is when it feels like they really take control.
Yep.
Did not look back in the same way they did in game 1. Totally rolled onto the victory, ballooned their gold lead, and looked convincing doing it.
Yeah, for me, I think the two game changers were Scary D on the Hades. He was having a phenomenal performance. Looked great on the Cthulhu, but the Hades really changed the game. He was able to get to the backline and confirm those kills, and also Baronic was on point with those Cuckoo ults, man. I mean, he was actually landing and getting the damage he needed, as well as the poly helps you get those Phoenixes down. Remember, the Scarabs were having a really hard time trying to break the base. It was the Phoenix sieges themselves that were the main issue.
Yep.
And I think those are the two things that changed the most. Not to say that everyone else didn't have a great performance. I think Hurrywin looks great in both games.
Yep.
I think Yarkor looks great in both games, but Scary D and Baronic, on the God choices, in my mind, changed everything and made sure they didn't get to that little stalemate where they were kind of stuck underneath the Phoenix. They were really able to close that one up. When Baronic hit the last ult on a Panatom over the wall, that's when I knew this game was over.
Yeah, we were thinking Panatom could be our man, really turn that game around, you know? I feel like if he couldn't do it,
Nobody
can in that game, right? And so Baronic effectively just ends it with a perfectly placed ultimate and a really well-rounded team comp. But again, so this goes back to a conversation we were having about the Solar Scarabs yesterday when they looked competitive. You know, the Hades, very much a meta pick. Bastet, you know, that's maybe more niche for Sam. Kukulkan, that's very niche for Baronic. Hurrywin, only a couple of supports playing Atlas. This is an example of a composition that is cohesive for the Scarabs, but in a sense that it's their type of game. They're not drafting top to bottom what everyone else in the league are drafting in a couple of their roles they are, but this really feels like a very Solar Scarabs-esque team comp. They're able to make it work here in game 2. And now the Leviathans, I mean, it's almost poetic, right? The Leviathans they're about to tie the all-time set win streak in the SPL. The Solar Scarabs, they've just been asking us to be patient. They're building up to something great. It just makes sense that this one ends up being very competitive. And again, very well could have been a 2-0 for the Scarabs had they been able to finish game number 1. Mm-hmm. Now it's on to game 3. So the question ends up being, if you're the Leviathans, are you worried about your early game at this point? It feels like in back-to-back games, Trelly, the drafts have forced the Leviathans into later game mindsets. Do you think you need to address your early game in picks and bans for game 3?
I mean, it certainly could be the option because it just seems like the Leviathans really do have a very solid late game no matter what, but getting to that point, I mean, you can't count on the Scarabs messing up a Phoenix Siege, you know, in game number 3, because game number 2 they clearly cleared it up. This time around, they've changed up their bans a little bit. They're going to make sure to take away Scary D's Hades as well as San Francisco's Mercury. That's nothing new. But that Hades ban could go a long way here. Remember, Scary D had a good performance on the Cthulhu, but I think the Hades really was a game changer. And also, Hurrywin going to be taking a respect ban towards the Atlas. Remember, he was building, I mean, that was 2 tank items and then full damage. It was like Divine Ruin, Staff of Mirrodin, just so much damage coming from that Atlas. Looks like the Leviathans don't want to deal with that either.
Now, remember, Leviathans have been in second pick, so the Leviathans have been going Ymir plus carry. It's been Ymir, Ishtar. Now the Solar Scarabs will find themselves in the second pick spot. Vulcan not banned by the Scarabs. And potentially, indeed, locked in by the Atlantis Leviathans. This has been an amazing pick for Shinto, and the Vulcan has made its way into his hands. There are still some options, though, for those big burst ultimates. Poseidon, Kukulkan. I wonder if the Scarabs feel like they've got to match that. And alternatively, Trelly, I wonder if the Scarabs feel like this early on in the draft, there are ways to pick some safety around that Vulcan ult.
I definitely think so, but I'm just going to say, if the Scarabs don't grab Cuckoo top 3 here, I'm going to call it a troll. Like, they just,
really?
They need to match the Vulcan burst. They have to have that delete button. And there's not too many mages currently that can do so. I mean, I think Shinto had a phenomenal performance on the Yu Huang, but was still not able to get that one shot from the build.
Right.
So I think the Leviathans just walking up to objectives and saying, hey, we've got the better confirm because we have this Vulcan, it puts the Scarabs in a position where they need to grab this Cuckoo here. And it looks like they're thinking the same thing. They're going to grab the Ishtar Cuckoo. I think that's the right call.
Spot on, Trelly. Ishtar Cuckoo. So you take not only one of Zapman's most comfortable picks in his last few games, but you get it over for yourself, and then Cuckoo Khan. Zap has played Ishtar 4 out of the last 6 games, 3 straight. 1 against the Jade Dragons, and then games 1 and 2 against the Solar Scarabs. Zap was blanked in game number 2, so despite it being a comfort pick for him, won't get it. Now, there's still a lot of value left on the board. Zap has played Charybdis a lot in the current Beads or Aegis meta. Looks like CERN will end up being his answer. That's also been a very, very popular option. And how about this? The carries all getting their picks very early on in the draft here.
Wow.
Cthulhu will make the difference. Leviathan's a fantastic top 3 now, rounding out their soul lane with Cthulhu.
I really thought the Kabrakan was coming through. I think it's just perfect setup for the Vulcan. Has a really great time into the Cuckoo as well. I mean, just wall him in, set up that Vulcan ult. You should be fine in one shot. We saw how many times the big man Tinks is able to combo with Janex with that combo. But it looks like taking away that Cthulhu from Scary D and putting it on a Haddix, one of the premier Cthulhu players in the league, and actually hasn't been playing it too much as of recent, but Haddix loved this god. So it looks like that's going to be the call here. And grab Sam for Soccer's Bastet before the bans go through. That means Scary D's going to have to give us a new look, a completely new look for this set at least. And Haddix is going to have that massive team fight pressure that we're so used to seeing from this Cthulhu.
Bastet looked good for Sam in the game 2 win that we just saw the Solar Scarabs capitalize on. You know, it was quiet just compared to some of the other moments that we saw, but 5-1 and 11 for Sam in game 2 on Bastet. Fantastic setup there. Pulled in some important targets, finished off some low health targets early on in the game. It was a great pivot point, a springboard point for the Solar Scarabs down the stretch. Scarabs agree on the Kabrakan point here, Trelly. They're going to ban it away alongside the Erlang Shen. Sylvanas will end up getting taken away from Hurrywind. And now you're later on in the draft, so you banned out the Ymir, the Emoja, and the Kabrakan yourself. Atlas and Sylvanas both banned out against Hurrywind. Hurry is digging deep into the God pool at this point, and Terra.
Wow.
Khepri is something else that Hurry has played a bit of. But you're going deep into your bag of tricks here if you're Hurrywind to try to pull something out.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we just saw the Amma lock in here for the Scarabs and then wait to see what Wrong You wants to go in that support role.
I thought you were saying for Hurrywind
oh,
for
no,
a second,
not,
I was losing.
Not for Hurrywind, no. For Scary D, because I think Scary D's God pool has been taking a few hits here as well.
Yeah.
With the Cthulhu and the Hades being taken away. So it could be something that the Scarabs look for. They already have plenty of magical damage in the form of Cuckoo. And you gotta imagine you wait a bit longer, but it looks like trying to grab the Khepri, take away a bit of damage. Hurrywind went quite literally 2 tank items and full damage last game. Don't imagine he's gonna go that on Khepri this game.
I was wondering if we would see more Khepri, given most carries choosing beads and then going for shell. Because you can't buy Aegis. We're going to Athens, I wish. Go Dogs. But Athena is gonna jump into the battleground here for us. Yeah, I guess I didn't really think about that. Wrong Use support pool also getting whittled down throughout the picks and bans. Ends up being Khepri versus Athena. I want to return to that point, though, with Khepri, with the Scarab's Blessing. I'd wondered if that would see a rise in play. Hasn't been overwhelmingly picked. Gotta imagine it bails out Ishtar or Kukul Khan at some point this game if an Earthshaker drops down. But then so late in the draft here, Trelly, a Susano left open for Panatom. You're rolling the dice, giving Panatom another chance at a big Susano game.
You are, but the Scarabs were able to stop it last game, so I'm assuming that's the call, right? And they're like, hey, you know, I was worried about in picks and bans the Cuckoo and Susano matchup. Boronic said, I'm gonna just ult him. And like, it's gonna connect and we're gonna win the game. So maybe riding that confidence. Also, Leviathan's going back to it tells me Panatom's gonna be like, I'm gonna watch out for that ult. But we had to know the Amaterasu was coming. That was honestly the only Scary D pick I could think coming this late in the draft with all of the things that we've seen banned. And it's going to have a good time getting pressure over the Cthulhu. Can't really match that team fight presence, but if you're setting up for Boronic on this Cuckoo, I've got no problems, and Dazzling Offensive is definitely going to do just that.
Do you think the Solar Scarabs have enough shred, Trelly, to burn through this Cthulhu later on in the game? I imagine a lot of it goes to Ishtar maybe enough penetration in the Kukulkan build can kind of burst down the big target up front. Do you think there's enough, though?
I think they have enough, but I think considering the way that the Scarabs have drafted here, they've got great objective burn as well. As long as you can get Scary D on the objective first, apply that Alma passive, Ishtar with the shotgun autos, and then a Cuckoo ult for confirm.
Yep.
I mean, you got to remember, Cuckoo ult is so much faster than a Vulcan ult. You can have it on the Fire Giant or the Gold Fury instantly, whereas Vulcan ult, it's got some travel time. It takes a bit to get there. So if the Solar Scarabs are trying to play through the early game, play through objectives, and get that lead that they've been able to get, I mean, I was going to say 2 games in a row. They did have a massive lead in Game 2, but it wasn't at the beginning. Or Game 1, rather, but it wasn't at the beginning. Game 2's for sure getting that early pressure. They've got quite the comp to be able to do it.
Yep.
Double Guardian, Leviathan strategy definitely excels in the team fight, so I got to give the objective pressure over to the Solar Scarabs here.
How do you think the Leviathans are going to play around this Athena this game? I mean, so often we've seen Athena over in solo. It's been global pressure, ult to one side, teleport back to solo lane to find your pressure that way. Do you imagine you see Rongyu getting super active with those ults early on in this game? Do you want to see Rongyu extending some pressure towards right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they have so much CC and so much setup. It's probably just going to be consistent dash taunt onto Baronic on this Cuckoo, or even the Kepri. I think Hurrywin's going to have to watch his positioning, because there's one pick, one Earthshaker, or even the combo from the Wild Hunt that Zapman can put out.
Yeah.
So much damage. If you're deleting a target before the fight starts, or just wasting Scarab's Blessing, the team fight gets a lot easier for you if you're the Leviathans.
I think, there's all these X's and O's and moving pieces in both of these compositions. Solar Scarabs, I think, regardless of the outcome of this game, should be proud that, I mean, you're a little frustrated you didn't close out Game 1, but you really took it to the Leviathans in Game 2. Good set for the Scarabs regardless, but they would love to win this one. The Leviathans trying to prevent just that. Game number 3 with Gormizer and Mifflin.
Now we'll see, can the last seed topple the first seed in the streaks for the Leviathans? I have no idea, and I don't think you do either. We'll find out here in game number 3. A very fun one. And Mifflin, the desk was kind of talking about it. I'm going to latch onto this as well. But the Athena, something that I feel has become very rare, to the point where I would even argue that there's a good chance we've seen it more in, like, the jungle over the last few years than we've seen it in the actual support role outside of lockdown for Shinto. Is it bringing anything else, or is this just the Shinto setup machine?
Well, you haven't been here the last couple weeks. We've been seeing a good deal of Athena, actually.
Really? I mean, I'd still say the thing I said.
Yeah, no, you're still right for sure. We've seen a couple support games, a couple
See, this is
solo
what happens
games.
when you miss like 4 days of 5 days. Oh my God, I missed a lot of SBL.
Yeah, like 2 weeks, man. 2 weeks.
It was fun though.
Yeah, so what Rongyu is going to bring to the team fight is likely just that setup. Not often do I imagine Rongyu is going to ult over to the solo lane, so what we had seen from solo Athena was a whole lot of, hey, I want to fight on the side of the map that I'm not normally on. Whereas, okay, so Rongyu is actually going to force that. So that's pretty smart. Takes the farm away from Yarkor. Hurrywin has confirmed the purple buff. What I do expect to see is a whole lot of Confound into Earthshaker or Confound into Typhoon, just consistent beads burning capacity. Or if someone drops low, Rongyu might dedicate his time to just taunting Hurrywin to make sure Scarab's Blessing doesn't come through. He's got some options. Hyper aggressive throughout the early game as well. I like this pick.
I am, out of just a personal play preference, huge fan of Athena. To the point where I think me and you had a discussion once because I still use the Winter Olympian one that I bought like in 2014. And you were just like, bro, there's so many better skins. Oh, we got Red Star Athena rocking it here for
yeah, the better version of your skin, by the way.
Yeah, but mine was limited, and that one's not. So mine's cooler, is what I'm saying. That's what I'm getting at here. Either way, it is a fun pick to watch for Rongyu. But like you said, probably just a big setup machine throughout this game. I'm also going to keep eyes on Zapman, since the Kernanos has been on the other side for the last couple of games. Phantom back on the Susano, great performance, save for one, not even like misplay or misstep by him, one really good ult from Baronic that ended his life at the end of last game. And now you got a Kepri over there as well. I mean, if you're talking about like 2-man dives, saving plays, like Panatom was making, a lot harder to do when Hurry's on a pick like that.
No, yeah, for sure. Hurrywin just going to be acting as gatekeeper for fun, right? Panatom, you want to have some fun? Scarab's Blessing, deal with it. Yarkor taking a whole lot of damage here. Should be forced to back up. Yeah.
Oh man, no way. Oh, the
whiff.
backfire.
What?
Way off the mark from Shinto. Good I mean, it's a little left side stroll from Baronic. And a right side shot from Shinto. But almost a solo kill in the mid lane. I mean, how often do you get to see those in general as of late? I mean, it does not happen without the assistance of the jungler. Panatom, meanwhile, along with Sam, putting some pressure over in the solo lane.
Wrong use, so annoying.
Yeah, and Wrong you just being a nuisance. In the best of ways for the Leviathans, the worst of ways for the Scarabs. But it is still going to be a purple buff secure for them. I'm still living in that mid fight, man. It's so close for Shinto. And I don't know that he's going to get another opportunity like that.
Well, it doesn't come up empty, though. He at least burns the beads from Baronic, so maybe a rotation from Panatom could spell doom for the Solar Scarabs mid laner. Probably be a little while until Panatom's comfortable looking for that, though. Just now ticking over to level 4. Generally around that 350 to 430 mark, you generally see the level 5 hit for Panatom, so should be around the same time Baronic gets those beads back and available, but certainly an opportunity nonetheless, so long as you're able to position properly for it. I imagine Shinto is probably not so happy with the pacing in the last couple of games. Now he's on a style of pick in Vulcan that has the same playmaking potential as Kukulkan, but also probably just a straight up better standard kit as well, not so reliant on the ultimate. I think Shinto's looking to make some waves here in Game 3.
It really does have the Thanos pulling on the gauntlet, fine, I'll do it myself embodiment,
like
right? Like
Something
he's
like
just
that.
going to be able to maybe need some help there. But he's still going to look pretty solid. We've already seen make him look solid. Sam is waiting to the side. Panatom's there. Just now hits level 5. Could be a big deal. Gets aggressive. Does not throw the ultimate out yet for Panatom, nor for Shinto. So it could have been maybe an explosive moment. Falls flat there, slightly, for the Leviathans. So that's going to be a big polymorph, double polymorph, and then a root follow-up. They need a couple more autos. The Leviathans unable to find the kill. Loop around from Panatom. Doesn't seem like he's feeling quite tower divey yet against the Capri, even though level 5 has not yet been hit. Gets aggressive on the
Good
Scarab,
taunt!
and now it's going to be great taunt. Dies second there for Wrong You, but first blood goes over to the Leviathans.
Man, that was such a good taunt. Catches the abduct frame 1. If minions weren't so nearby, Wrong You just straight up lives there, but nonetheless, it's the Leviathans with first blood.
And a really rare area. If Confound didn't do damage, he might not have aggroed the minions.
Doesn't Confound also aggro minions? Just
Does
straight
it?
up if you hit them?
I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever tried taunting a minion or paid attention
It's
to
not
them when
gonna
I'm throwing it out
taunting
there.
enemy gods. All right, so it's enemy
Yeah,
gods.
okay, when you said that, I'm like, I don't know. I've never been looking at a minion when I throw that ability
What
out
a weird delineation. Why can't I also taunt minions, you know? But you are right. Maybe Athena support slightly nerfed. You know? Shouldn't be dealing 20 damage or whatever you did to her anyway next time. But no, still a phenomenal play from the Leviathans support player.
Beautiful timing.
Just great timing on the taunt. Good, I suppose, just bait as well. I mean, that was a dash into tower line just about. Trying to force the Solar Scarabs to respond, knowing that Panatom was hovering nearby in the jungle. Great stuff, and the Leviathans now nursing a pretty nice lead.
Keeps him. And honestly, maybe the best spot we've seen within 6 minutes so far this set. It's been a lot of back and forth between the two teams. Scarabs took them, 10 minutes-ish, 12 minutes-ish last game before they just kind of exploded onto the map and absolutely took control. It was Furies, it was Primals, any objective you can think of. Now we'll see what they can do. Oracle Harpies getting fought between the two teams. Secured by the Leviathans. After that potential first blood moment earlier from Shinto, potential solo kill moment as well. Haven't seen too much. Baronic has been playing a lot safer, been a little more, I don't even want to call it timid. He's just been doing the Kukulkan thing where he clears the wave and
Yep, he's doing that.
yeah, no need to step any further forward if you're just going to put yourself in danger. With Susano on the other side, beads are back up there for Baronic. Feels like it might be a while before we see any true danger coming up in mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, the danger will likely come from the setup of Sanford Soccer. Huntress Abast, then you've got Spirit of the Nine Winds and potentially an opportunity to just remove somebody from the map. Otherwise, I don't imagine Baronic's going to be trying to make any individual plays. Doesn't really favor the matchup in the 1v1 up against Shinto, and needs to be worried about Panatom hovering nearby in the jungle at all times. Ultimate expended from Scary D there. That was highly reactionary. I wonder what he's concerned about.
Double taunt into the blast from Shinto, forces the ult from Hurrywind. He's going to stay alive for now. It looks like permanently, unless Panatom has some crazy close gap. Dodges out the ult from Baronic. Immediately is going to jump onto the dragon, chase him down. The ult goes the other way, though. Tries to lock down Sam with the help of his team.
Ooh, good jump.
They're able to get a little bit here. Dodges out some damage from Sam.
Whiff
There's going to be a
Sunder.
small whiff on the Sunder. Panatom's holding the top line. Wrong use chasing below. And Zapman not anywhere near the fight as of right now. And so, despite what felt like it should have been 2 deaths on the side of the Scarabs, no kills end up happening. Leviathans turn their eyes instead to the jungle, take the red buff, start stripping away the obelisk as well.
If Sunder connects, it's a free kill. Sanford Soccer uses Blink to escape, but Sunder would have put him in combat, so unfortunate whiff from Wrong Yu. Does cost the Leviathans their pick, but not without opportunity. Yarkor dashes forward.
Yeah, tries to play aggressively. Zap comes in to save his jungler. Not going to have any help from Panatom here. They both end up disengaging. More mana for Zapman. Same health bars on either side. So they start to back away. Zap can just go back to farming. And he's been relatively relaxed. I mean, if you look at it, he hit level 9 first, just now taking over there for Harkor. But Zap, not only the first couple of games, but this one as well, has not been very hands-on or even that heavily rotating for his team.
Defense, Shito needs some help.
Yeah, has to have a little bit more. Wrong use there, but no, they just lock him in place and kill him off. Panatom makes it a 1-for-1. Mid for mid. Well played by Panatom to make sure that's not just the delete key on Shinto.
Yeah, great timing on Wrong Yu's ultimate. Defender of Olympus, I think, may have connected before even the first instance of damage. Panatom in no man's land with the help of Haddock should be able to disengage there. Looks to the pool on the Sanford Soccer, comes up empty. I want to talk about that pseudo 1v1 we saw between Zapman and Yarkor, though. I'm not certain that Zapman necessarily loses that. Had the attack speed advantage, was sitting on Lightblade. Yarkor only had Devourers, had stack advantage as well. Plus the passives of CERN's first ability. But the shotgun auto attacks from Yarkor, I suppose, keep it interesting. Zapman did not like what he was seeing. Disengages, but there was like maybe a second left, like 2 more autos with the shotgun effect. I don't know, I feel like that could have been a drop kill as well. Yarkor dashed aggressively onto Panatom there, had no way to escape, had no ultimate either. I feel like Zapman could have stuck it out, but the 3-time don't take no risks.
Well, they're going to continue to not take any risks. This time around, you look around the map. Gold Fury's been started, secured easily for the Leviathans. Not a Scarab in sight. Pretty much the inverse from what we saw last game. The Scarabs controlling that. 2,000 gold, 10 minutes in. And it is feeling very opposite to what we just saw in game number 2. Scarabs trailing behind and trying to figure out how to get their hands back on the game.
Yeah, maybe it's around Sanford Soccer and Baronic's combo, or Hurrywind and Baronic's combo. When you got a Kukulkan, it's around that guy's combo, right? Spear of the 9 Winds is just the great equalizer in that it'll flatten anybody it hits. So the Leviathans need to play wary around that while a couple of their beads are still on cooldown. Shinto and Panatom, very, very susceptible to any form of CC. Baronic should be able to land it pretty easily off an abduct, but you probably don't want to grab Haddocks.
There's an ult from Scary D, lockdown onto Panatom, low health bar for the jungler, but he's able to juke out the ult from Baronic. And now it's the turnaround. Haddocks leading the way for the Leviathans. Knockup's good onto Hurrywind. They're going to force the Scarab's blessing, and there's no escape for him this time. Haddocks, credit for the kill onto the support. Finally, the Leviathans get a 1-for-none trade.
Yeah, here's the thing about Kukulkan as well. Maybe the great equalizer with that ultimate. Just about worthless at the 11-minute mark if you're not hitting anybody, and Baronic comes up empty there. So we saw what? Tornado did about 150 damage to one person. Zephyr doesn't connect either. Just not a lot of contribution and not a lot of space creation from the mid laner, the Solar Scarabs. The Leviathans essentially ignored him as they put Hurrywind 6 feet under. And that's going to continue until we get a little bit more itemization. Once you have Poly as well, Zephyr plus Poly auto is enough of a threat that you can create space for your team, even when you whiff the ultimate. But until then, just have not got a whole lot of damage output.
Yeah, it takes a little while. We saw the one-shot potential late game.
And it
But
is
that
a one-shot.
yeah, something that you need a little bit more for, right? Like we're even talking about like with the Soul Reaver online now, Divine Ruin is what we see for Baronic potentially building into a couple of those books. You also have to look at, we saw with the ult, but I don't think we got to see the full potential of like the Zephyr into an auto combo
With
that
a tornado
comes.
at their feet too.
Yeah, like,
it's good in late game.
You have a lot of kill potential as a cool con.
Late game.
Like you said, late game. It comes with that asterisk. And right now it is not late game. Leviathans seem to be in control. A couple of kills up on Panatom. And you can see the experience. 2 levels in the jungle, 1 level there in mid. Let's call it 1.5 in the jungle since we just see Sam tick over to 11. Solid lead for the Leviathans right now, but something that can go stagnant very easily, right? But if you look at this, not a lot of neutral objectives available right now, unless you're picking up insane kills. Maybe not a lot to expect there. Rongu getting pulled back into the ult from Baronic.
Really?
Channel Defender of Olympus makes it out of there for now, but Scary D was waiting, and Scary D is able to find that one, picks it up, no problem. Panatom goes in, forces the Scarabs blessing from Heroin, not able to find the kill onto Scary D. Haddix has rotated through, has Descend to Madness, but not a lot of positioning to work with. Scarabs under the tier 1 tower come in, pick up 1, scatter to the winds.
I'm so sick of watching Panatom because every time I got to talk about how sick he is, right? Like going in aggressively there, forcing the Scarab's blessing on a Scary D, but maintaining his own ultimate, perfect. And then a turnaround like this, I mean, just perfect.
What a leap, though, from Sam. Maybe not the craziest play in the world, but just enough to get him out of the damage. And that was Sam aggressing onto Panatom. Like, Panatom should have died there. And instead, it's Sam who had to turn and run. Both junglers keep their lives. A couple of ults expended. And despite the kills not maybe racking up, it's been a very scrappy game still, Nephilim.
It has. It's not been lack of trying. The kill departments remain pretty low, 6 in the last 14 minutes. I think we'll see a good amount of them pretty soon, about a minute until that Oni Fury spawns up. That should be the POI that the Solar Scarabs will be forced to defend. We're already starting to get to a critical point. Around that 3,000 mark is the danger alarm starts to playing, where it's like, okay, well, next objective, 4,000 feels really bad. 5,000, you don't want to fight just about ever. Anything past that, it feels like you're waiting for mistakes from your opposition before you're able to really fight in. So the Scarabs will likely show up to this next round of objectives. Win conditions have started to reveal themselves, though. Scary D, slight lead over Haddix, has shown that he's got massive damage output as well, considering what he was able to get accomplished up against Shinto and his rotation towards mid. So keep your eyes on the Amaterasu, so long as Scary can get involved, I think could turn the tide of these battles. Baronic's ultimate, always going to be an equalizer. Just need to land 1.
Sam lands 1 here on the Zap. With a little bit of help,
There
you're
it
going to
is.
land and get rid of Zapman. Baronic starting to put on the performance we expect from this cool con. Question is if they can keep it up. Herwind has Panatom chasing him down. Haddix is rotated in again. Descend to Madness available. He's going to find the root. There's the cleanse from Herwind as well. With the ult down, Leviathans are going to go ahead and let it fall at that.
Hurryman's got to go back to base. So the Solar Scarabs, even though Zapman is dead for 20, might slow play it around the Oni Fury as they wait for Hurrywin to regroup with them. Scary D has made the rotation, but Haddix intelligently holds on to Descent to Madness throughout that engagement on left. Maybe enough of a deterrent to keep the Solar Scarabs away from that objective on its own. So the Scarabs find a pick on a Zapman. They take away his shell, and they completely disengage. Relic Roundup, the Solar Scarabs at full strength. Ultimates, not exactly the case. Only the Dazzling Offensive for Scary D. But an Oni Fury pool nonetheless. Just heat checking the Leviathans. Are you going to keep showing up? Are you around? Can you respond in time? Rongu says yes, and also now we have vision.
Not just vision. Secure advantage. I mean, you had mentioned the ults, but like, I don't think I'm stepping up to a Fury if I see the Vulcan on the other side.
All right,
It's
Spirit
probably
9
just gonna
wins
try
pretty
to-
close.
That was, yeah, it is now a lot closer for them, but
I'm just talking
definitely
like raw
maybe-
damage output.
Oh yeah, raw damage output. I was thinking timer-wise, it just didn't line up the way they wanted to. I think Shinto could have potentially had a field day if they had kept that going. But like you said, a heat check, vision goes the way of the Leviathans now. Pyromancer's about to respawn in just a second. When you're looking at the gold, 2,300, separating the two, 2,200, depending on where the farm is at, makes it a comfortable lead, as we've said in the past. But 17 minutes, the 2000 starts to mean less and less as time ticks on, unless the Leviathans do something insane. The Scarabs are not only in a good position to try and fight back, they're not going to feel too far behind. We're going to start seeing a lot more equal footing in some of these team fights.
I agree, man. And Baronic's starting to hit some pretty significant power spikes. That Polynomicon now finished up, so the Zephyr combo strong enough on its own that I think it's not just, hey, I'm here with Spirit of the Nine Winds, I missed, it's over, or I hit it, it's over. It's, I can deal some damage. So long as he is alive to do it. Gotta dodge this one.
No way.
Woo!
What a shell. Oh, my God. Necessary
Shell
to
and a prayer.
survive right there. Baronic barely out of there. Stays alive, though, but with him disengaged completely, the Leviathans feel very confident in their burn potential. And as I said, they needed to do something to make sure they could stay online. They're staying online now. Grabbing up the Fury. Gonna go for a little bit more. Try to take the Pyromancer, not gonna be able to. Scarabs secure that one. But the fight afterward.
No dash.
Yeah, hurry, no dash, hurry. No survival going his way. Movement speed, there's the dash coming off cooldown. Good body blocks from Haddix. And yet it's still not enough. Scarab's Blessing times out, and somehow Whirlwind walks out.
Yeah, I wonder what Haddix is saving to set in a Madness Sword. Perfect
Next
team
game?
fights. Yeah, we're getting it. When we're 5 stacks, then I'll descend into the madness. Otherwise, I will be keeping my sanity, says Haddix. Feels like, I don't know. Does 15 knockup sound like it would kill Hurrywin in that situation to you?
Yeah.
I feel like it probably would have.
I do be a fan of knockups.
Yeah, like 15, 16 of them. I think might have been enough, but
Honestly, even like just 2.
a pick on a Hurrywin is valuable in that position, though. Maybe not so much. Hurrywin not exactly a massive bounty on this Capri.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a rotation from Zapman either, so the Fire Giant going down, pretty unlikely. I mean, it would have got him a kill, and that's just about it. Maybe Haddix values the safety that it affords him personally in the lane more than shutting down the support, and if that's where his calculus leaves him, I'm not going to argue against it. Seems pretty all right to me.
Oh, with the numbers over there, though, if you get that kill onto Hurry, does that create enough of an advantage that you could maybe swing for an early Fire Giant? Or was it like in
Not
that
without
weird...
Zap. Not without
Zap? Okay. Because I was going to say, if it's in that position where it's like maybe you can push for more, maybe it's more worthwhile. But if, yeah, no Zap, no Fire, no worth. And so they fall back. They keep things relatively even, 4-3 for the kills. Scarabs leading in that regard, but they're still just shy of 2,000 gold down. It's bouncing around that 1,900, 2,000 mark. Scary has to be careful here. He's getting chased down. The root not going to connect from Haddix. A Panatom, wrong you, 1 pull, 1 taunt. Sometimes that's all you need. They're going for the cutoff path. Panatom tries to close gap. They're not going to catch Scary D in time. So the numbers advantage they were maybe looking for, not there, but a Fire Giant start from the Leviathans. You have to be going for something else. Yeah, it's Whirlwind right now. Ult has come back off cooldown. Scarab's Blessing not used, though. Instead, to re-engage from the Scarabs, trying to figure out where they want to go. Descend to Madness in the back is going to be helpful, but Panatom is getting knocked out by Hardcore. A couple of autos is all it'll take, and they're not going to be able to find it. Hardcore just a little short. Shinto needs some abilities to find this damage. No kills as of yet in this fight. Whiffs the backfire. Sam gets out. Hurry gets out.
Dash
Hardcore
up.
is going to have to play the long game. This is going to be a long chase. If they want to try and find him, dash forward from Hardcore, dash forward from Wrong You. No taunt just yet.
They got him, right? Panatom's so fast. They got him.
You have to have him here. And there's going to be the lockdown. Took a little while, but they finally get the numbers advantage. Tie up the kills. Panatom kills off Hardcore. The Leviathans have a little bit of wiggle room on the map.
Yeah, I mean, Hark nearly turns around the fight entirely. If he got the initial pick on a Panatom, the Source Scarabs would have been in a much better position, but with Haddix separating the entirety of the engagement with the Descent into Madness, there wasn't even rotation potential. Yark took the only pathing that extends his life as significantly as he did. But is it worth it? Is delaying your death that much going to come back and bite you? Because now it's 25 seconds where the Levi's can just regroup, move towards fire. Sam for Soccer and Baronic teaming up to slam a purple buff 22 minutes in. Probably doesn't seem super opportune. Levi's might just walk away with the fire easily.
Yeah, so far, nothing to worry about. Fire Giant at 1/4 health. Scary D in the neighborhood, but not much to say about it. And the first Fire Giant of game number 3 goes the way of the Leviathans. 4,000 gold, 3,000 gold up. as the Scarabs do their best to make sure they can hold on to this one. No Fury, no Pyro. So it's all tower talk for the Leviathans right now. First one of the game just now falls, 22 minutes in on right-hand side. A little bit of gold to spend, and they get to come back with a vengeance.
Yeah, I think the Levi's Siege is actually pretty decent. Athena simplifies Siege so much in that she threatens a whole lot of space with Confound, and Taunt and a Meatball Backfire is like 40% of your tankiest target's HP and 80 of your squishiest on the Solar Scarab. So I think with Fire Giant, the sustain that Haddix is going to afford you with Descent into Madness, Rongu is essentially allowed to just dash, taunt, rinse, repeat. Dash, taunt, rinse, repeat. It's very easy for him to continually threaten those feeds and threaten that damage follow-up from his team. Scaredy dashes in here. Good luck.
Yeah, does have the
He's
ult,
out.
and that's going to allow him to get away from the taunt. Could have otherwise been a pick for the Leviathans.
Shinto's alone. That's
She's
dangerous.
just hanging out. He's going to be able to get a tier 1, so that's going to be 3 towers off the board for the Scarabs. Pyromancer started and secured by the Scarabs.
First minute of this fire has not been great.
No, it has been maybe the most relaxed minute of fire that they've gotten 3 tier 1s. Like, it's very chill.
Hey, 3 tier 1s is some gold, some itemization, I suppose, but the Solar Scarabs have answered it on map, just about. Now you're grouping up a little bit more significantly. Panatom pushes up the mid wave. Left side wave already pushed up by Shinto previously, grab the Primal. Now start approaching these tier 2s. So the Phoenix Siege is just now beginning. We've talked about the offense from the Leviathans. Why not evaluate the defense for the Solar Scarabs at least a little bit? Initiation, very strong. Scary D with the Dazzling Offensive, can line up a stun on just about anybody. Beads available for just about everybody, though, from the Leviathans. Means that the first round of CC won't connect. But I'm just thinking about Boronic, right, and what Spirit of the Nine Winds can really do. If he hits Zatman, Zatman's not in the game anymore. If he hits Panatom, Shinto, they're removed as well. Not easy by any stretch of the imagination, but 3 targets that you could just essentially one-shot. Could be that Boronic saves the game with one crazy ultimate.
We've seen it happen. Although last time it was more secures the game with
That's
one
right.
crazy ultimate. Now it's much more on him, pressure maybe mounting to try and find that save. Same for Shinto though, right? You one crazy ultimate, much harder, I would argue, to connect.
I don't know about that.
I was going to say, with the setup around you, maybe not as hard.
And it is a lot of setup.
And it's a lot of area to have
right.
that set up in. Very easy to get that damage, and then you're talking Sam or Boronic or Hardcore.
It's
just
like a massive
gone.
circle instead of like a
straight
line.
Yeah.
And if we're to talk purely geometry, Phoenixes and towers are just massive circles if you think about it.
You're not wrong. You might see it right there. Barely alive is Hardcore. Even with the Scarab's blessing movement speed, wasn't enough to get out of there. Lucky for him. It's life. Still. Forced back to base. A little TKO allows the tier 2 in mid to go down. Tier 2 in left already taken. Tier 2 on right about to join it. Lots of gold now lining the pockets of the Leviathans. Pushing themselves up to around that 9,000 gold mark, 9,300 as they go for this back. Only lost the 1 tier 1, and despite the first minute of that Fire Giant Mifflin maybe not being the most lucrative, the final count for the Fire Giant afterward is all 6 towers on the Scarab side.
Nice little slow approach from the Leviathans, have essentially net themselves ultimate advantage around the Fire Giant. Vision controlled by neither team as of now, but Vision in pocket certainly belongs to the Levi's. Group up, head to fire, drop some wards, go back to base, buy some more. And all of a sudden the Solar Scarab's going to have to try real hard on the defense. Steal attempts always there. Spirit of the Nine Winds not only good at just killing gods, but also removing individual objectives. But you won't need it if Yarkor is picked. No way. You just walk up to fire 4v5.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy kill as far as that one comes down. They lock him up. It's a minute without the carry for the Scarabs. I thought it was going to be an immediate rush to the FG.
Are we going to
for when it
Phoenix?
spawns, but yeah, it's going to be a Phoenix push. 45 seconds and a 4v5. A lot of potential for the Leviathans to keep this going their way. Haddix marches forward. Descent to Madness going to be channeled, and it's going to be knockups. He's just buying space for his team. Zap putting as much damage as he can into the Phoenix as well he can. Hurry tries to get aggressive. Causes some trouble, forces the Leviathans back. Phoenix very low, so is Hurry. Just deleted from the game. Played well by Panatom. On the left side, Phoenix burned for the Leviathans. They're looking to keep their win streak alive.
Hurry dies with ultimate. Baronic doesn't cast his. Scary D holds on to his as well. If you were defending, didn't seem like you were trying too hard to do it. Sam for Soccer chasing out, forced to use those beads offensively. But do you win the fight after? Certainly not.
Certainly not.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah,
that's
I do.
That's the cat.
Certainly.
Yeah, I don't remember. Oh, maybe it's Bugs.
I think it feels like a Bugs thing, right?
I don't know.
I don't know, actually.
It's a Solar Scarabs thing.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Well,
I
they
couldn't-
certainly in a bad spot.
Yeah, someone at Hanna-Barbera or whatever.
Yeah, not looking too great for him. A clean kill there on the Sam, and I mean, it's been a perpetual 4v5 for the last 3 minutes. Now for the Scarabs, Fire Giant started up. Should be pretty easy to secure for the Leviathans. Just a minute and a half shy of becoming, well, minute 40 shy of becoming an enhanced Fire Giant, but one Phoenix already down. A numbers advantage still for 20 more seconds. They might still have plenty of room to work with.
No might. Still 10 seconds on
Yeah,
Sam,
good
and even
point.
when he respawns, no beads. It's taunt into Earthshaker for Sam for Soccer. I don't want that to happen to me, but I wouldn't mind seeing it happen to Sam. I feel like it'd be a cool combo.
It'd probably be better if they had everyone. Shinto running up in the jungle. Panatom pushing up mid lane. So it is going to be a patient regroup from the Leviathans before they jump into Phoenix.
So our Scarabs have to split the map ever so slightly. Sam for Soccer contends with enhanced minion waves on the left-hand side. Otherwise, the core 4 of the Solar Scarabs grouped on right. This is 4-1 split here for the Leviathans. And last 1v1 we saw went to Panatom. And that's when Sam for Soccer had beads. This time around, no beads. Gotta think a pull from Susano might just be enough on its own.
Ults, relics, pretty much all up. Beads still missing as you highlighted there for Sam. And it's going to be the bracer on the inside. hi-rez goes in to sit into madness immediately. Hurry. It's taking a lot of poke. There's a big ult coming down, and it finds its mark from Shinto. 2 low on the Scarabs, but not dead yet. There is the proc. Scarabs blessing works out well, but it is Panatom and the rest of the Leviathans running through the Scarabs here at the end of game number 3. And you have to imagine it has to be a miracle defense, and they're looking for it. Sam tries his best, gets 1, but can the 2 defend 4? The answer is just no. A 10-set streak win for the Leviathans. Put them up there with NRG, put them up there with the Dragons earlier this year, the only 3 to have done something like that. You know they've got to be feeling good about it, although it was a risky run for them there in games 1 and 2.
Yeah, it was looking a little close. The Solar Scarabs kept it interesting, but the Leviathans found their form in game 3. I'm so surprised at the timing of some of those ultimates for Baronic, though. Why are you holding it until you're, like, defending yourself? If your team's fighting, maybe drop 3 of the 9 wins, like, on Phoenix defense while the CC's happening, while the fight's happening. Instead, drops it on his feet towards his own fountain, just about. So, not exactly the best performance there from him. Maybe the Leviathans kind of figured out the answer. Kokolka, not exactly in the meta, looks real good. When you're not used to playing against it, get 2 opportunities, you'll figure it out.
And you had mentioned it, but like, I mean, early in that game, we start to see the Scarabs falling behind. It becomes a discussion of, okay, now it's got to be a good defensive ult, right? If you can find one. We never got to see one of those that come through. Never stops anything. The Leviathans continue their role, not just over the Scarabs there in game number 3, but over the league here as they find their now 10th win in a row. Insane for them, but you don't got to take it from us. We're going to throw it back to the desk to break it down.
No, I'll agree with you there, Gormizer. 10 set wins in a row for the Atlantis Leviathans, and they've still got a few more sets to go at the end of the phase here in phase 3, so a chance to break the all-time SPL set win streak record of the Atlantis Leviathans. They'll play up against the Olympus Bolts the next time we see them, so that one now a lot of fun. Let's break down game number 3 here, Trail League, because this one, maybe the most lopsided of the set so far. Game 1 probably felt like the Scarabs could have won it, maybe should have won it. Game 2 felt convincing for the Scarabs. Scales tilt further back towards the Leviathans, though, here in game 3. And the ultimates were hitting. The 1v1s looked great for Panatom.
Yep.
feels like the team recentered themselves prior to the third game.
Yeah, I would say so. If the Scarabs found their footing in game 1, as you said earlier, very could have been the top 2-0 rather for the Scarabs. But the Leviathans, they held on in this game. They just looked extremely dominant. It just seemed like they really got their foot going. I really did like the engage from Rongyu consistently throughout this set, as well as Shinto was like, I'm sitting in the back. I'm making sure these ultimates are landing, that sort of thing. Giving Shinto Vulcan in game 3, that one's crazy too.
I know, that surprised me, to say the least. You know, it actually wasn't. It was a 0-1-6 game from Shinto, which is surprising, but so much of the damage, as we'll see later on, was supplied by that Vulcan. So where a lot of the killing blows were dealt by the rest of the team, plenty of setup provided by Shinto here for the Atlantis Leviathans. And this team just continues to roll, and it's a conversation we'll have not only throughout the rest of this weekend, but going into next week, Phase 3 playoffs after a break for Thanksgiving. Remember, all year long, Trelly, we've talked about teams who are starting to heat up, start to peak at the right time. I mean, this Leviathans team has been peaking for 2 months now, right? With how long Phase 3 has been. It's been a very consistent team. It's been a team that's been near impossible to beat, and their win streak now continues. Zapman, AD carry for the Atlantis Leviathans, standing by with Gormizer for the post-game interview.
Yeah, that's right. I've got Zap here. And I got to start with maybe the easy one, right? 10 sets in a row, a thing that the Dragons did earlier this year, and the only team prior to that to have done it is NRG, so up there with some really great names. How's it feel, man? You got the 3-time. You're making a run for the longest streak.
It feels good. I mean, we're putting in a lot of work. Everyone's grinding a lot of hours. So just to, win 10 in a row, it's a good feeling.
How many accolades are you going to rack up before you can think, okay, I'm done now? Like how many do you think you got to get to?
I don't know. I'm just gonna play till I suck. So that might, that might not be too long from now. Who knows? Yeah,
who knows? We'll need to see. I do have to talk about the set itself. You guys win, but I'm gonna zone in on the rough part. What went wrong in game number 2 that kind of caused things to get so out of hand?
Yeah, I think the Scarabs had a good draft plan. They drafted good pressure, good picks against what we had, and they had a game plan. They kept grouping up and looking for picks and stuff like that. And sometimes we got picked unnecessarily, and and it snowballed from there. So I don't, hats off to them. They played a pretty good game, and but I'm glad we got the win.
Now, I do want to look kind of long form, right? We've talked about the fact that you guys are on a win streak. You come into Phase 3 with a roster swap, picking up Haddix. And then since then, you had the first loss, nothing but wins since then. Granted, took a little bit to get as running, maybe as fast as you wanted to. But now looking towards the end of the phase, right? Towards Phase 3, towards Worlds. Where is the mindset for the Leviathans at?
Well, I mean, my mindset is on the Zygen. I gotta bring that back. I mean, the only one we lost was when I picked Zygen and Z set, and my team never let me play it again. So, but I like to have certain picks in the back pocket, and we're just gonna be practicing, working on drafts, different picks, counter picks, stuff like that, just the normal stuff, and see where it takes us.
Well, it's gonna be fun to watch. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there rooting for y'all. Of course, there's the people. It might be a smaller subset. They might want to see a 4-time. Some people probably want to see you fall, and that gives you motivation. Either way, it's been a 10-set win streak for Zapman here. It's been a great sets watching the Leviathans play. So congratulations on your win, man. We're gonna throw this back to the desk to continue out and breaking it down.
See how the last couple of sets of the phase go for the Atlantis Leviathans. They will play the Bolts tomorrow. Tomorrow is Sunday the 13th, so they'll play the Bolts tomorrow. A chance to set the new all-time set win streak record here in the SPL. They'll play the Kings after that. That's next weekend. And then ending the phase against the last team that beat them. At the time, maybe the lost streak is broken, but the Oni Warriors will be the last set the Atlantis Leviathans play this phase. So a really good look, and now we'll get to look back at some of the highlights of this set here, Trelly, really the game. This combo of gods worked for both teams earlier on in the set. Cthulhu looked fantastic early in the set for the Solar Scarabs. Despite a loss, it was very hard to kill off Scary D, had to really catch him out, so it looked fantastic for Haddix. And then also CERN kind of swap teams back and forth. It felt like the Leviathans were just sort of able to assemble everything they wanted here in Game 3.
Yeah, it definitely did seem like it. And also, I don't think, I guess Zap, I know he's making a joke, but if the Zygen does come out, I'm not looking forward to the games we're going to be watching, in
a bad way for the Leviathans, you mean that?
Yeah, I love that Zap likes playing some mages in the duo lane, but It just seems like Raijin's not even in a good spot, you know? Like,
Not even in the mid lane.
No, I don't want to see the Shijin ever. But you gotta be hyped for the Leviathans on their win streak. We'll have to see like what they're able to do coming up in their next game, things like that. But really locked it down in game number 3, and I think that shows a level of, you know, it looked a lot like Panatom was just hard carrying by the stat line, but I think the whole team really came together. And as you said, this Cthulhu is something that was going back and forth between both of these teams, and really seemed to be impacting these team fights as you would expect from a Cthulhu. You know, they looked real solid as a team.
They sure did. 6-0 for Panatom. That's what I expected, the 24,000 damage from Shinto. So it's a goose egg in the kill column, but the majority of the damage dealt by Shinto, of course, followed up on by Panatom and a clean team performance. It's hard, though, because this one, you know, the Solar Scarabs, I think, after game 1, it's frustration, but also probably realizing it was the best team in the league we're playing against, and we had a really good chance at winning game number 1. Game 2, their smiles back on faces. We finally capitalize and get a win. I really hope that kind of getting blown out here in game 3 doesn't lose all of the good that the Scarabs built up early on in this set. Game 1 despite a loss, game 2 with a win against the Leviathans. I think a building block for the Solar Scarabs, and we saw them get back to their game plan, the early game aggressive style of play. Could be a good look, and I think could be a momentum shift here for the Scarabs. Unfortunately, with the loss here, the Solar Scarabs, their math starts to get really, really tricky in breaking into the top 6, but more chances for this team to play. And they will play tomorrow up against the Camelot Kings, the Solar Scarabs will. Now today, we still got very, very important standings implications on the table. Titans and Valkyries, they'll go to battle in our next set, followed up by the Oni Warriors and the Jade Dragons. Tomorrow we'll start off with Bolt's Leviathans. Remember that one, the first set tomorrow, a chance for the Leviathans to set the all-time win streak record in SPL history. Scarabs trying to bounce back against the Kings, and then the Jade Dragons up against the Titans to end the weekend. Now, Dave, why do I say that these standings are these matches are so important for standings? It's because Oni Warriors, 1 win behind the Jade Dragons with a win in our final set of the day, tied for second. Tiebreakers come into effect, and we'll see how that all shakes out. But you're giving yourself a chance. Oni Warriors control their destiny, so do the Jade Dragons as far as getting top 2. Bottom 2, Trelly, Valhalla Valkyries up against the Tartarus Titans. They're 3 games behind them. But this is a team trying to build some momentum, potentially close that gap.
Yeah, they definitely need a win here. As you were saying, they want to try and close out of the top 2. I mean, out of the bottom 2, rather. They'd love to get to the top 2. That doesn't seem possible. So I think both of these teams looking for a change in momentum, I suppose.
Yep.
Or I guess the Titans are probably trying to keep their momentum going, but the Valkyries still trying to break out. So massive seeding implications, as you were saying, and just, you know, a confidence booster going into Worlds. You'd love if you could get a couple more wins under your belt.
And so important math notes for the Scarabs. So they are 3 wins out of the top 6. The Bolts 3 wins ahead of the Solar Scarabs. The Scarabs only have 3 matches left to play. The Titans 4 wins away, so it's impossible for the Scarabs to jump over the Titans. The only way the Scarabs break into the top 6 and avoid group stage is if the Scarabs beat the Kings, the Valks, and the Oni Warriors, and then the Bolts lose out the rest of their matchups as well, and that just gets us to head-to-head, and I don't think the Scarabs are looking much better there. So mathematically, not looking fantastic there. We'll see what happens with the Scarabs, but keep your eyes on your screen because our next matchup equally important as far as standings go. Tartarus Titans, Valhalla Valkyries, coming up next.